and her husband, Giovanni Nunez, are suing their neighbor, Scott Elam, for the cost of a baby macaw bird.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case 2194, Franchini Nunez versus Ellen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Nunez,
Yes.
your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
You and Mr. Elam?
Elam, Your Honor.
Elam are neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have backyards that are joined, separated only by a fence.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of fence?
It looks plastic. I'm not sure.
It's
Who
a
has a
vinyl
picture of the
Your Honor.
fence?
Scott hands a document to Kevin.
And you each have, as would happen, dogs, same breed.
No, ma'am.
What do you have?
I have a Shetland sheepdog and a Dutch shepherd, ma'am.
And what do you have?
I have shepherd mixes.
How many dogs?
2, Your Honor.
And you have 2.
Yes, ma'am.
This is what the case is about. This is the fence. It's not a chain link fence. It's either a wooden or a plastic fence. And you can see that underneath this fence, there's a board here where I assume there's a hole because the dogs dig holes to get to each other. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Case is about an incident that occurred. You've been neighbors for a while, and you have had this dog digging also for a while. Also correct?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
the defendant's dog.
Okay. This incident happened on the 16th of December, 2022. Why don't you tell me what happened?
I got up that morning to let my dogs out.
Both.
One dog. Okay, so the day started out, me and my husband woke up. My husband had to go get a tire fixed, so he took my smallest dog, my Shetland sheepdog, with him. I remained home with my 2 children.
Slowly. Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead. How old are your kids?
They are 6 and 7, ma'am.
Okay.
I remained home with my children because they were ill, and I had an appointment with them later on that day. My husband went to go fix the tire at 8 a.m. I got up in the morning to let my dog out.
Got up in the morning to let your dog out.
Yes.
The shepherd mix?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I let her out, and then she came back in, and I was cleaning, and my 2 children were in my master suite with my macaw, Penelope.
Okay. That's what the case about. This case is about a macaw.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
cost of a macaw.
Yes,
Which is a bird.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
My kids were in the master suite. I opened the door. I'm out there cleaning. I let my dog out of my
And the dog came back.
sliding door. She came back. Well, then she stayed by the door. Now, none of my windows have curtains, so I can...
Just a second. So that, but she stayed by the door, but she was inside?
She came back inside. I shut the door. This was 20 minutes went by. She's by the door. She's crying. I told her we would play later. I assumed she had to go to the restroom again, and I let her out again. She stood on the step, but she didn't go further than that, and she was just kind of staring out. From the left side of the house is where the defendant's dog, Bella, charged in my home. And then when I tried to grab her...
When you say his dog, Bella,
Yes.
came into the side and ran into the house, that doesn't... Somehow, if the dog, Bella, came out and your dog was on the step, it would seem to me it would stop on the step at first to sniff, play with your dog if your dog is sitting outside. I mean, I have dogs. Would go over to that dog first, not run into your house.
You would think that, ma'am, but she's been in our house 3 times before this because I had to return her to the defendant on 3 separate occasions. And she didn't do that day. When she came in the backyard on the 3 other instances, I remember the very first time someone from that household came to my door, and I knew the dog was in my backyard, but I didn't open my door. I left her back there. I figured they'd come. They did. And I said, hold on a second. I put my kids, I put my Sheltie in the room with my bird, and I shut the door.
Are we talking about the same
No,
date,
ma'am.
December?
We're talking about other days that I
No,
brought...
okay. Let's not go on tributaries.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your dog's name?
Lucy.
Lucy. So the dog just went straight into your house. And what did Lucy do?
Lucy charged after her and tried to attack her.
Okay. So the dog has been in your house before. Have there been incidents with the 2 dogs?
No, ma'am. The defendant's dog is submissive to my dog. So the only time I brought the dog in my home was when I shut all the doors to all my bedrooms. Someone from the defendant's home came. I opened up the front door, brought her in, and she went straight out because there was nowhere else for her to go.
Okay, so it's your dog that is Lucy is the more aggressive dog.
Lucy's never been aggressive with her. I believe that Lucy was aggressive with her that day because of the way she came in the house.
When you say Lucy was aggressive, what did she do?
She started growling at her, and she started to...
In the house?
Yes.
Now they're in the house. Put a period there. We have the 2 dogs in your house.
Yes.
And they are growling at each other. So that's not a happy picture because they're big dogs.
Yes.
Now let's get to the bird. You purchased a macaw.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a photograph of what they look like?
Yes.
When did you purchase the macaw?
I purchased her with payments over time. I completed the purchase at the end of September 30th.
This is the macaw.
Yes, ma'am. That's my
A parrot?
Yes, ma'am.
In December, how old was she?
She was going to be 8 months.
And how much did you pay for her?
I paid $4,320.08 for Penelope.
Okay, can I see the bill?
Absolutely, ma'am. Her birth certificate along
She's
with
beautiful.
all of the...
Pretty bird.
Thank you, ma'am.
Patricia weeps. Caption, coming up.
She bolted in my master suite where my kids were.
Lucy?
No, Bella.
Bella.
Bella did. And I went in there, like, I heard my kids screaming, Bella is killing Penelope.
And later today,
Is there something wrong with your mind?
No.
Did you just say to me, am I crazy? Did he say he owed back child support?
Yes.
To her?
Yes.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Patricia, Giovanni, and Scott.
Patricia Franchini claims her neighbor, Scott Elam, owes for the cost of a baby macaw bird killed by Scott's dog.
Tell me what got you interested in the macaw.
Earlier this year, full disclosure, ma'am, ended up in the hospital very sick for 2 weeks, and I was going through a lot, and I started volunteering at the bird store down by my home, and I really liked the Hans macaw because my grandma had one when she was younger.
Slowly.
Yes, ma'am. And so I spent a lot of time bonding with the birds there, and my husband and I thought it would be good and therapeutic for me, given what I had been going through.
Okay, now the two dogs are in your house, sort of fighting with each other.
They did not fight, ma'am. I did not allow
Well,
them to.
growling.
Yes, ma'am.
Growling at each other. And tell me what happened with Bella and the macaw.
I tried to calm Lucy down, and my master door was open. Everything was happening so fast. I know I'm describing it slowly, but it was quick. She bolted in my master suite where my kids were.
Lucy?
No, Bella.
Bella.
Bella did. I heard my kids screaming, Bella is killing Penelope. And
That's the bird.
yes. And I tried to get to Bella. I couldn't. My dog was standing in between us. And while I was with the two dogs, then my son thought, oh, I'm gonna go get her. And that's when Bella kind of snapped at him and she scratched him. And so then I couldn't get her. I couldn't, she literally was like chewing her up and like dropping her and like biting her again, you know? And it wasn't until my Dutch Shepherd bit her on the nose that she finally let her go, and I swooped and I grabbed her. I booked it to my pantry in my kitchen with my kids, and Lucy stayed in front of the door, and I have a door on it, and I just stayed in there, and I called my husband, and I was screaming on the phone. He got home maybe, I don't know how long, it probably really only was like 5 or 10 minutes, but it felt like forever. She was like
And where
dying
was
in my
Bella
arms.
during this time?
Bella was around the pantry with the bird in her mouth. And then I took the bird from Bella, and then I put her to the cage, and then Lucy just stayed by the parrot. And then I opened the door and
I
talked
didn't
to the
even know
kids. They were all hysterical, and I was trying to understand what she was
Where
saying
was
along with the
Bella?
kids. Bella was in the kitchen with a parrot.
And how did Bella get back to the defendant?
I walked her over.
How did you do that?
Kind of like how a mother pup grabs her by the neck. I grabbed her by the neck, and I walked her over.
Okay, your dog killed their bird in their house. And?
Your Honor, the hole that allowed Bella to get into their backyard is primarily dug by their dog over the course of many, many months.
And?
I continued to repair my side of the fence. Their dog continued to dig the hole, destroyed wood that I had put there. The dog got through. In that story, it's sad, but that's not the story that he gave to my wife when he came pounding on my door.
Well, you can't tell me what he said to
I
your
was on the
wife, sir.
phone. Okay, that's fair, Your Honor. I can tell you what he said to me. I called him
You can tell me what he said to you.
instantly.
Just you have to understand, he wasn't home when your dog got into the house. He came home at the end of the episode. Do you understand that?
I understand that.
Okay. Understanding that, you can tell me your version of what he said to you.
What they both said to me, I've had conversations with the both of them since this has happened.
Okay.
The story has changed 2 or 3 times. First, it was she was doing something in the backyard and Bella just came charging in and basically knocked her out of the way, got inside. The first story was, I assumed the entire time that he was home because when he was talking to me over the phone.
I don't care what you assumed. He wasn't home when it started. Your problem, sir, is, first of all, you were aware of the hole, I don't care who dug it. You were aware of it. And it's not the first time that the dog has gone onto their property. Has their dog got onto your property?
No, because I fixed my side of it. I take care
so
of
the
my
answer
house.
the answer is no.
Correct.
Who do you live in your house with?
My wife and my children.
How old are your children?
I have a 1-year-old. I have a 7-year-old.
Let us say it's their fault that the hole existed that allowed your dog to get out. But you were aware of it because it had happened before that they had to bring your dog back. That a fair statement?
That's fair, yes.
Okay. Let us assume that it was your dog that was responsible for the hole. And their dog, despite the fact that yours was a better digger, you know, having dogs and having a fence, they both dig at the same place. They may not have fixed their side, but they both dig at the same place, trying to get to each other. Whose fault do you think it would be if their dog created the major part of the hole, got into your yard, and bit your 1-year-old? Whose fault would that be?
I think it would be equally our faults.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah.
Really?
For digging, for not taking care of your property, absolutely.
Really? I actually find that answer sort of bizarre.
I would take responsibility if my child got hurt due to something that I didn't take care of. Absolutely, I would.
Well, you may feel guilty about it, but you would certainly want them to pay all of your child's medical bills.
No, I would not.
Well, then you're a better person than the law is, sir, because your dog was outside of your control, clearly, because it got into their house. It was something that you were aware was a possibility, no matter who dug the hole, so you were aware because it had happened before, and your dog caused damage. And the damage your dog caused, and I'm putting the emotional distress, these 2 young children and the plaintiff, seeing your dog kill this bird that they had been paying off so much per month for a very long time. Putting aside that, they paid $4,300 for this property that your dog destroyed. And that's your fault. You're responsible for that. So if, because of this problem, and your dog has a problem, and their dog has not come onto your property, but your dog comes onto their property, then you have to say, you know what? I'm not letting my dog go out unsupervised because it has created trouble in the past. May have been their fault because they didn't fill in the hole as quickly or as carefully as you did. But you knew that that happened, and you're responsible for the damage. It would be no different than if the dog ran inside, and as she was trying to get the dog bit her, and she had to have surgery, and she had to have a plastic surgeon deal with reconstruction. Who do you think would be responsible for that? That would be you. And just because it's a poor little bird that happened to be the victim of this doesn't make you any less responsible. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,300. We're finished.
Court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Patricia, then Scott.
I feel like it was justice for Penelope.
When a homeowner doesn't take care of their property and someone lets another dog in their house, they shouldn't be blaming other people for that.
It was extremely difficult to hear my kids screaming like that and do nothing to calm them down.
The judge's ruling is the judge's ruling.
I hope that he never gets another pet again.
I don't think there's gonna ever be a relationship, which is totally fine by me.
Sarah and Judy.
One of the most interesting things about that case is I don't think that the defendant's dog, Bella, was a quote-unquote aggressive dog. But I didn't get a hint that the other dog was even aggressive, even by the fact that the husband was able to walk her back by the scruff of the neck. If that was an aggressive dog, they would just turn right around and give you a nice little snap. So that says to me that although the dog didn't obviously do it on purpose, what are you going to do? But you're responsible as a defendant. You let your dog out. It's a act that's happened more than once. You were on notice.
Dog is out of your control. You're responsible. That's the bottom line.
Case 2202, Young versus Buchanan. All parties, please come forward.
Essie Young is suing her granddaughter's father, Keith Buchanan, for an unpaid loan she gave him for a car.
Judy.
Miss Young, the defendant is married to your daughter?
No.
He is the father of your grandchild.
Yes.
Do he and your daughter live together?
No.
Where does your daughter live?
In Maple Shade?
Were they ever married?
No.
They have one child.
Yes.
Who's 12?
Yes.
Did you live together with Miss Young's daughter?
Well, at one point, she lived with me in Maple Shade.
How long ago?
This was 2010, 2011.
You mean when your daughter was a baby?
Yes.
How long have you had custody of your granddaughter?
11 years. My daughter never stayed with him.
I don't know that. He says she did.
Yeah, but she did.
Caption, coming up.
So she got that money that he owed her for child support, for taking care of his daughter, and he wrote that off of the loan. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Essie and Keith.
Essie Young claims her granddaughter's father, Keith Buchanan, refuses to pay back a loan she gave him for a car.
This is a very simple case, because I don't have to get into the history of why you have custody of your granddaughter.
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan, according to you, asked you for a loan to buy a car.
Yes.
When was that?
Before he got it, he was calling every day.
Did you maintain a relationship with him?
Yes and no.
Would he visit his daughter?
No.
Ever?
Once in a blue moon.
Okay.
I usually have to take my granddaughter to see him.
Okay. It was sort of odd to me if he was never married to your daughter, so they didn't have a formalized relationship. They don't live together now. Why would you loan him? I know that you did.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you loan him money?
My granddaughter.
Except you're a very nice person.
My granddaughter asked me to. She said, "Grandma, would you please help my dad?" I told her I really don't want to. And she said, "Could you please do it for me?"
Oh,
And
different
then-
story.
Yes, and then I said, okay.
Okay, so you discussed with your daughter during one of these visits that you needed money to buy a car?
No, never did.
You never did?
No.
Who is this person?
That's my wife.
Does she work?
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes.
Well, why would you ask your daughter's grandmother, who takes care of her, who's always taken care of her? You don't, neither does her mother. Why would you not ask your wife's family? You both work, take out a loan. Why would you go to her and ask her for money?
But it was a situation that happened and I lost my previous car. I contacted Essie, I talked to Essie.
No, I'm asking you why you would ask her. What would prompt you to call her? Doesn't she have parents?
Yes, you do. I did that, and at the time they couldn't help.
So you went to her parents first?
I went to her family first. They said they're sorry, they can't help at the time. So Mrs. Young was my last resource, which I didn't want to use, but at the time I had to use it because I had no other choice. I had to hurry up and get a vehicle.
Well, why didn't you take out a loan?
Actually, I couldn't.
What do you mean you couldn't?
Because my credit's not all that great. I tried to take out loans. I tried to go.
Does your wife have a car?
Yes, she has a car.
Okay, why don't you use her car?
She worked. I work an hour and a half away from home, and she worked too, and we worked around the same time.
How much money did you borrow from her?
$2,000.
How much did you give back?
$912.
$912. Show me.
Keith hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
On page 4, May 5th, 2022, she got $912.
From what?
From my taxes. And we agreed on once I filed my taxes, I would give her $2,000 for my taxes. She got $912 from them, that same taxes, because I owed backup child support. So she got on top of my regular payment for child support plus $912.
What? Is there something wrong with your mind?
No.
Did you just say to me, am I crazy? Did he say he owed back child support?
Yes.
And so she got that money that he owed her for child support, for taking care of his daughter, and he wrote that off of the loan. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Oh, my God. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Well, not ever. I should take that back. It's the dumbest thing I've heard today.
Sarah nods.
If you owed her back child support, how much did you owe her?
Only owed her $900.
In back child support?
Yes.
Okay.
That I fully forgot.
Just a second. You owed her that money. In addition to owing her that money, you owed her $2,000. Do you understand that? So you owed her $900 plus $2,000. Are you not following me? Am I getting something wrong here?
I'm with you.
Are you following that? That's either a yes or a no.
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, I'm going to repeat it again. What you said was they took money out of your taxes for back child support, $900. So that means you paid her $900 of the $2,000. That's what your argument is.
Yes.
Am I getting that?
Yes.
You already owed her the $900.
I had no awareness that I owed her $900. When I found out that $900 got taken out the taxes, I had no tax coming back. I was like, look, you got $900. You're gonna have to give me time. And that's when it went south.
Oh, you got $900 that I owed you anyway. Now I need more time. Oh my God. How is your granddaughter in school? She do okay?
Yes, she
does
well.
okay?
Yes.
Okay. Either his math skills or his moral skills are somehow lacking.
It's the moral.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Essie, then Keith.
I think the judge seen right through him.
He was gonna be miserable, so I just let him be miserable.
No one thinks like that.
As long as she go about her life, I go about my life, leave my family alone.
I just think he was hustling me.
Only contact me when they got something to do with my daughter, that's it.
I don't want anything to do with him either.
Sarah and Judy.
So initially, I may have been a little lost. It took me some time to get there. But I thought that what the defendant was saying was that he was expecting $2,000 on his tax returns. So he told plaintiff, when I get it, I'll repay you the $2,000. And then in his mind, when the $900 left the account, he didn't know that that was not going to be there for the back child support. So he only had, the $900 and change left to give her. I was like, okay, that makes sense. He thought that it would be the full $2,000. Come to find out, he thinks that the back child support is what fulfills his
loan
obligation, which wasn't even the full amount, not even half. And all to someone that has been raising your child for 12 years.
He's probably worse at math than I am.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to Judy Midas is suing his wife's boyfriend, Willie Albrecht, for filing a false police report and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Case number 2068, Automatis versus Albrecht.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Albrecht, I'm going to start with you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You are the current live-in boyfriend of the plaintiff's ex-wife?
Soon to be.
Of the plaintiff's wife.
Correct.
Mr. Adamus's complaint is that as a result of you making a call to the police, he was defamed when you said that he was trespassing. It was a false call to the police, and he wants to be compensated to the tune of $2,500. That's what the case is about. So in order to make this whole thing in context that I understand, how long have you been living with Mrs. Adamus?
Since June of 21.
How long do you know her?
Since January of 21.
Have you ever been married?
Yes, I have.
When and for how long?
Previously to April of this year, I was married for 15 years.
So you were married when you moved in with Mrs. Adamus?
Yeah.
Legally?
Legally.
Did you own your own home?
I did.
With your then wife?
Correct.
Did she stay in the house?
She did.
Does she have a boyfriend?
Yes, she does.
Do you like him?
No, I do not.
Does he live in the house?
Not at this time.
Did he ever?
Yes, he did.
And you didn't like it?
No, I did not.
Judy grins.
So I want you to understand that there is maybe a reason why the plaintiff resents you living in a house that he owns with his still wife, and you're living there. Do you understand?
I do.
Because you sort of have the same situation. You're kindred spirits. Just a minute. Actually, you're kindred spirits.
Except my 15-year-old son also lives with this young man.
So who cares?
Oh.
Well, that's all right. But you understand why he might be annoyed.
I do, but...
Okay. So now, understanding all that, I want you to tell me, because I'm not totally sympathetic with you, sir, because if you and your wife are divorcing, you're entitled to move on with your life, and so is she entitled to move on with your life. Where do you live? You live in an apartment?
I live in a condominium.
Okay. How long have you lived in the condo?
I've lived when we separated March of 2021.
And who do you live with?
I currently live with my...
No. Who do you live with is the question.
My older son.
And how old is he?
19.
And how many bedrooms are in the condo?
2.
And what about you? Have a girlfriend?
Yes, I do.
Ever stay over?
My house? No.
Do you ever stay at her house?
No.
Does she live with her children?
Yes.
And is she divorced?
Yes.
And she stayed in the house?
Yes.
You see how all these things go? It's just, as the world turns, it's just what happens. Been there, understand it all. Can either make it hard or difficult. Who pays the mortgage on the house?
Paid off.
Okay, so you have one teenage child, your wife has the other.
Yes.
And how close is the judgment to divorce to being finalized?
Not close.
Not close. Is that for financial reasons or custody reasons?
Financial.
Had to do with the house?
Yes.
Okay. How much is the house? I'm just fleshing this out.
Speculating.
Only because I'm a little bit of a yenta. Behind this purple robe is a little bit of a...
You know, with the housing market, being a CPA, you know, it's hard to say, you have to do, but I would say somewhere...
Why don't you give Sarah the address of the house, and we'll tell you what this estimate is.
California.
While she's looking that up, tell me when you and your wife purchased it.
2006, August of 2006.
And during the course of the marriage, were you employed all the time?
100%.
And what about your wife?
100%.
So you were both employed and both contributed to the house. Fair statement?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. The estimate is $552,000.
And just for my own curiosity, what's the rub about the house?
The rub
Come
about
on, it's simple.
The rub about the house is she's now went in and spent an ungodly amount of money on fixer-upper after I moved out and went into massive amount of debt. The house was fully paid off, and she's now in massive debt. She's put in fixer-upper.
No, don't look at her.
Okay, that's
look
what
at me.
Okay.
So she's fixed up the house after you moved out.
Correct.
And?
It's not a problem.
Just a second. So what's the problem?
There is no problem with the house, meaning that you know we're still debating who's actually going to end up with the house. We haven't decided.
Well, you know, whoever wants to be in the house buys the other one out.
Exactly.
For $260,000.
Correct.
Okay? It would seem to me that would be easy.
I think so.
Okay. Now that I've satisfied the yenta in me, I'm getting back to the case. All right. You called the police. This incident, according to what I read, Mr. Adamus, happened on November 5th.
Correct.
You went to the house to pick up your son.
Correct.
Okay. Was that a meeting that had been arranged before?
I have visitation every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks when?
Every other weekend.
Well, so was this a weekend?
Yes, that was one where I was going to go pick him up.
Okay. Had you spoken to him?
Yes.
And so he was expecting you to come at a certain time?
Absolutely.
What time?
Approximately there, we'd arranged about 7:15, that 7:15, 7:30 that night.
Okay. And you had visitation fixed by the court, and you had been enjoying that with your son for a period of time?
Correct.
Okay. What happened when you got there at 7:15?
Well, on that particular visit, my wife had taken his key to the house, and I had...
No. I told you, don't look at her.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
I'm getting sympathetic with her. I just want you to know that.
Okay.
7:15, you went to pick up your son, and you were annoyed because your wife had taken your son's key away from him.
Correct.
And you thought your son should have his key because he was 15.
Yes.
And?
So at that particular time, I
don't look down.
Okay, look at me. I went into the house. I'd never been in that house since I moved out, and so I wanted...
How did you get into the house?
The door was open.
Okay, the door isn't wide open. You mean it was unlocked?
Unlocked.
Okay, so let's not say the door was open.
Okay,
the door was unlocked.
Correct.
Door was unlocked. You don't live there anymore. You live in a condo.
Correct.
Okay, did you ring the bell?
No.
Knock at the door?
Yes.
But there's a bell.
Answered.
There's a bell.
There was a bell.
There's a bell.
Yes.
Didn't ring the bell. Open the door. Now, open the door.
Yes.
Your house, I own half of it. I'm going to ask my wife a question.
Yes.
Keep going.
Walked into the house. At that particular time, she is sitting there with my son. At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument. She didn't want me to have a copy of the key. And I tried to explain to her, without a copy of the key, he can't get in the house. If I drop him off at odd hours, then you don't have to be home. So then she got upset. At that point, then I never met Mr. Albrecht before this time. He comes storming down the stairs. Mr. Albrecht is then, I think Mr. Albrecht's coming to beat me up. He is storming down the stairs. I have since learned that Mr. Albrecht...
Just stop.
Okay.
Just pay careful attention to me. So far, you're in the wrong.
Okay.
Now, let me just tell you.
Okay.
So far, from a legal perspective
right.
and a common sense perspective,
okay.
you're in the wrong. I'll explain why in a second.
So I walk into that house.
We got past that.
Okay.
We got past that. So now you want a copy of the key, and she says no. I don't care if you want to give it to your parakeet.
Okay.
You're not entitled to a copy of the key.
Okay.
Let's start right there.
Okay.
And let's start with my first point is if you're going there to pick up your son for a prearranged visit,
yes.
You don't walk into the house. You have a 15-year-old son. A 15-year-old son has a phone.
I tried to call him, yes.
Oh, you tried to call, and what happened?
He said he was there, he said...
Be very careful what you say to me.
Okay, he
You
was
called
there.
your son.
And I called my son, be ready to go. He said, okay, I'm ready to go.
That was at about 7 o'clock.
Yes, approximately.
What do you mean, yes, approximately?
Yeah, I was probably on my way to pick him up. And so when I come up there, I call him on the phone.
Okay, he's ready to go.
Yes, are you ready to go?
Okay, so you walked in.
Okay.
You had no right to enter the house.
Did not know that.
Well, you had no right to enter the house. You knew that your wife changed the locks.
I did not know at that time she had changed the lock because the door was open. I had not been
No. Listen to me. You went there because... Mr. Adonis, you have to be a two-process thinker, sir, before you give me a lot of baloney.
Frank grins. Caption, coming up.
You knew that your old key didn't open the house. Otherwise, you would have said, your mother took away your key. I'll make you another key from my copy.
True.
True, of course it's true. So, you know.
And later today.
I wasn't allowed to live with my dad and stepmom because they moved into a 55 and over neighborhood.
When?
They...
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Frank and Willie.
Frank Automitis claims his wife's boyfriend, Willie Albrecht, wrongfully called the police while visiting his own house.
Okay, if you needed a copy of the key to a house that you partially own,
yes,
you would have had a key to the house.
Correct.
You didn't need a copy to make because you would have had one.
Okay.
So you knew that your old key didn't open the house. Otherwise, you would have said, your mother took away your key. I'll make you another key from my copy.
True.
True, of course it's true. So, you know, so he called the police and he said you were trespassing.
No, he didn't say that at all.
What did he say?
He said he told me I was trespassing. Then he called on the phone, and when he's on the phone with the police department, he is telling them that I am now committing domestic violence. Now, that is a very serious charge. I mean, okay, we can debate about my access to the house, but when you call the police and say that I'm committing domestic violence, which is a crime in the state of California, that's a game changer. So
I want to ask you a question, Mr. Adonis. When you walked into the house and you saw your wife and your son, I want to know, when you walked in uninvited,
true,
your first words were, I want a copy of the key. That's what you said. You said, I want a copy of the key. Would you read that back to me, please, Whitney?
I'll go with that.
At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument.
So now you're in an argument, and you're a trespasser. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
Frank, then Willie.
Very, very shocking.
She's absolutely correct, as she usually is.
I had no idea this was going to blow up into World War III.
Because he's all about winning. He didn't get his way. He was throwing a temper tantrum.
I feel that he's just trying to do whatever he can to keep me out of the picture.
He lives by his own rules.
He just simply wants me out of the way so he could take over.
Let the courts decide.
Judy and Sarah.
It's always so unfortunate when people divorce. I mean, the story is this. I could have written the script without even listening to the people. But they have two teenage boys, 15, 19 years old. One's chosen to live with the father, one's chosen to live with the mother. Clearly, the son said to him, Mom took away my key. Mm-hmm. She clearly took away his key for a reason. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to get into what the reason was, but clearly she took away the key for a reason. Otherwise, she doesn't look like an unreasonable person. Her boyfriend doesn't look like an unreasonable guy. And he was flexing his muscles. Mm-hmm. And the fight is over the house because I gather that's the only real asset they have. Yeah. Anyway, unfortunate when people don't realize that they have to love their children more than they hate each other.
So true.
Case 2069, Hastings versus Kammer. All parties, please step forward.
Ryan Hastings is suing his former roommates, Peyton Kammer, for a security deposit, personal belongings, and filing a false restraining order.
Mr. Hastings, you and the defendant were roommates? I'm not quite understanding.
Yes, correct.
Clearly, whether you were roommates or in a relationship. What was it?
It was just roommates.
When did you start to be roommates?
In September of 2020.
Did you know each other before?
Yes.
How?
We were just friends that met at a party and hung out often.
Starting when?
That was in December of 2019.
And what made you decide to room together?
We were both looking for a place to live, so since we both needed that, we found this apartment together.
2 bedrooms?
Correct.
And you moved in with animals,
Correct.
I understand from the complaint.
Correct.
Cats?
Yes.
How many?
I had 2.
I had 2.
I didn't ask you anything yet. You had 2. And Miss Kammer had 2. Any other animals?
No.
So you started to live together during COVID?
Correct.
Were you working?
Yes.
Was Miss Kammer working?
Yes.
What was the rent on the apartment?
It was $13.65.
And you each paid half?
Correct.
So far, correct? Was everything okay in 2020? September, October, November, December?
As far as rent?
No, as far as the living arrangement.
Oh, in 2020, yeah, we just had many squabbles, but overall, we were just fine.
I'm going to ask you the same question. In 2020, everything okay?
No.
What happened in 2020?
It was emotional warfare since I moved in with him. There was arguments with everything, even simple things like cleaning the dishes, just nonstop. I was terrified of him living with him. I couldn't bring anything up without it being an argument.
Okay, so prior to moving in with Mr. Hastings, where did you live?
With my parents.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Is this the first time you had an apartment?
Yes.
And how far away were your parents from this apartment?
Probably like 10 minutes.
If you were terrified, you should have moved home.
I wasn't allowed to.
You weren't allowed to because?
Because I wasn't allowed to live with my dad and stepmom because they moved into a 55 and over neighborhood.
When?
They...
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
They moved in a little after I moved into my apartment. I moved into my apartment to prepare for them moving out.
I just don't want to hear drama. If you had fights over who's going to clean the dishes, I don't want to hear terrified, unless you're terrified. And if you're terrified and you're 21 years old, you go back to where you came from, to your parents' house. If you're terrified, may not have liked it, but that's just kid drama. So, squabbles in 2020. Your lawsuit says that she disposed of your belongings. She filed a restraining order.
Yes.
As a result of the restraining order, you were evicted from the apartment.
Yes.
It was a false restraining order. You hired a lawyer to appeal the finding of the judge.
Yes.
That you had harassed her because this restraining order was based on harassment.
Yes.
May I see a copy of it, please?
I have a copy of the restraining order.
Of the order or what it was based on?
It said what it has the whole thing. It says what it was based on.
Yeah, I see what she has. It doesn't look like it was what it was based on. You do a write-up of what it was based on.
Judy reviews a document.
On the front page, in a little box, it has a little description of what happened.
Okay. So the judge who heard this case, and I'm assuming everything in this write-up is true. On the above date, which was the 7th of September 2021, on the above date and time, defendant and the plaintiff engaged in a verbal argument over household chores. The defendant then made comments to the plaintiff that he would go crazy on her and raised his fist. The defendant stated this multiple times and started shaking in anger, causing the plaintiff to be in fear for her life. And you had a hearing on this?
Yes.
You had a hearing on this. You told this to a judge?
Yes.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what you told the judge, or did you tell the judge anything?
I told the judge that I was raising my voice, but I was standing a good amount of distance away from her at the time, and that I was shaking because I wasn't being listened to, and that was it. There was no physical interaction there, only verbal interaction.
Caption, coming up.
Did the judge say to you, how would you describe shaking in anger because you weren't being listened to?
I was shaking just because I was angry. I was just trying to keep my composure.
Well, that would frighten me.
A courthouse. the Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Ryan and Peyton.
Ryan Hastings claims his former roommate, Peyton Kammer, owes for a security deposit and personal belongings. Peyton is countersuing for rent and emotional distress.
Now, tell me, did the judge say to you, how would you describe shaking in anger because you weren't being listened to?
Can you repeat that question?
I don't know how you were shaking. You mean you...
I was shaking as in like, I was shaking just because I was angry. I wasn't being listened to. I was trying to keep my composure. So I was just shaking.
Well, that would frighten me. Actually, I don't know whether I put you out of your house, but that would frighten me. Mr. Hastings, where are you living now?
I just moved into a new apartment.
With whom?
Myself.
Better?
Yes, and my cats.
Perfect. Yourself and your cats. Great. Now, I'm going to tell you, Mr. Hastings, if that happened to me with a man who was larger than I was, that might frighten me if he appeared out of control. So I'm dismissing that part of your complaint, which seeks damages for a false restraining order.
Okay.
What you actually just testified to me, and I took everything that she said in her complaint against you. I didn't even have to ask her. I wanted to know what you told the judge.
Of course.
Then it was a reasonable issuing of a protective order, just to make sure that it appeared to me what you were testifying to is that she couldn't tell the difference whether you were composing yourself or whether you were out of control. Okay, so it was...
May I interject and just say that the restraining order was repealed and remanded, saying that the court did not find sufficient evidence to impose the order. And
whether it was or not, I don't care what... I'm not sitting as an appellate court.
Okay.
I'm sitting as a trier of fact for the first time in your civil action. And what you told me, in my judgment, was sufficient for a judge to say, you know, I don't want to preside over an assault case or a homicide case. This guy says he was shaking. She says he was shaking in anger. You say I was shaking to try to maintain my composure. Well, I'm not going to worry about them. Let him go find someplace else to live, which is what he did. So I think that that's reasonable. Money owed for return of security deposit. Now, he was put out of the apartment. He put in security deposit.
Correct.
And he was put out of the apartment. How much security deposit did he put in?
$682.
Are you still living in the apartment?
I am.
Okay. When he moved out of the apartment as a result of this restraining order, was there any damage in the apartment that he caused?
No.
Then you have to give him back his $682, because any damage that would have resulted since he moved out would be your damage, okay? That's fair enough. $682, that's your security deposit, sir. Return of belongings. Okay, so when you were told that you had to vacate the apartment, tell me what belongings you left in the apartment which you think she still has, which belong to you.
I do not believe she has anything of mine left in that apartment.
Well, what do you think she owes you for?
I am seeking the money for those items because they were thrown away.
What items?
So I had a bed.
Just a second. Yeah. You had a bed and there was a major flea problem in the apartment as a result of your cats.
Correct.
Okay, she threw away the bed. What else?
Okay, there was a Nintendo Switch.
Do you know what that is?
Nintendo Switch? I never found that. I believe he took that the night with him.
Okay, she didn't have it. She didn't throw it away. What else?
I also had a hookah that was in there.
What, a hookah?
Yeah.
Do you have his hookah?
No.
Go. What's next? Okay, if you have to think about it that hard.
I'm sorry.
Sir, we're finished. She owes you back your security deposit. Okay. That's $682. You have a counterclaim. Most of it is nonsense. Your counterclaim for emotional distress. Forget that. Only one emotionally distressed usually in this room is me. Money owed for the month's rent, for a final month's rent. What is that?
He didn't pay the month of September. He was late on it.
The month of September?
But that would have been the $682.
Was he there in September?
September 1st would have been the day that the money was due.
No, when did he vacate the apartment as a result of your restraining order?
September 7th, when the night of the mistake, but he was late on rent often.
$682, that's what he gets.
Yes.
As he gets a security deposit back. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Peyton, then Ryan.
I don't really disagree with anything. Everything went perfectly the way I would have hoped it went.
I'm glad I got my security deposit back, but I could have definitely been compensated for the items that I lost.
I mean, he got a little money out of it, but way less than he thought he would. It's a good day.
Sometimes I can get anxious, but I would not hurt anybody physically.
I hope he gets some help.
Me and my cats are the best trio.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, I remember from a very early period in my life when I started college that I wasn't really good at having a roommate.
I think you must have passed that on to me.
I did, especially one that you don't love. You know, it's hard enough to live with somebody that you love. You know, they get irritated. You know, she said they fought over dishes and not doing the dishes. Well, you know, you've lived with us, so, you know, I have that argument all the time. But I love him.
Yeah.
It's very hard to deal with somebody schmutz that you don't love.
Got to be careful and pick someone you really think and cross your fingers and toes.
Actually, Sarah, I don't think you should pick anybody. I think that what you should do, if you can, is live in a shoebox by yourself, if that's all you can afford. Yeah. You know how many roommate cases we've done just in the last couple of years?
All with stress and aggravation intertwined immensely.
Immensely, and that's without romance involved. I mean, this young man, who looks like a perfectly reasonable young man and very honest, said he told the judge that he was shaking. I said, well, describe to me what you were doing. And he shook. And
I would say that's
crazy.
A little out there.
She was getting under his skin. There's no question she was getting under his skin.
Middle of COVID, everyone's inside.
You could tell she was getting under his skin. She was terrified. You know, she's 21 years old. Yeah, a little dramatic. Anyway, I think it ended okay.
Yeah, ended well.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Be seated, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge.
Why are you, Kevin?
Case 2201, Parkinson versus Burke.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Brian.
Mr. Parkinson, you are suing the defendant, alleging that she caused you to be falsely arrested.
That is correct.
The defendant has a counterclaim. Her counterclaim is based upon the same incident for which you were arrested. She's claiming that you placed both herself and her passenger in her car in fear because you displayed erratic behavior and threatened them with a gun. And I gather that you two live in a gated community. Is that correct?
Yes,
where is that?
Arkansas.
How long have you lived there?
8 years.
And you?
26 years.
This incident occurred on what date, sir?
June 7th.
Of last year?
Yes.
You were driving what kind of car, Mr. Parkinson?
A gray Toyota Tundra.
Sir, I think I know what that looks like. Could you bring that up for me so that I can see? A Toyota Tundra.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a little car. That sounds like a big car.
It's a truck.
On her laptop, Sarah shows Judy images of pickup trucks.
Big. And what kind of car were you driving?
A Toyota Camry.
That I know what it looks like. It's a regular size, smallish car. This incident happened, according to the complaint, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's correct.
I'm going to start with you, Mr. Parkinson, since it's your claim for false arrest.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me your version of what happened on June 7th, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I assume you were on your way home.
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Go ahead.
Miss Burke pulled out of the station in front of my vehicle, directly in front of me, causing me to hit my brakes extremely hard.
Okay. Either because she wasn't paying attention, right?
Could be.
Could be. Well, you wouldn't think. Just let me stop. When was the last time you were psychiatrically hospitalized?
Never.
Are you currently taking any psychotropic medication?
No, ma'am.
Were you intoxicated on the 7th of June?
No, ma'am.
4 o'clock in the afternoon?
No, ma'am.
So, Mr. Parkinson, let me go back a little bit. This is a non-psychotic, not drunk person. So if you're a thinking person, you know that if she pulled out, either she wasn't paying attention because she's not driving the Tundra, you are. You're driving a this, she's driving a this. So she wouldn't place herself and her son in harm's way purposely to pull out in front of your Tundra.
I would hope not.
Well, I would say absolutely not. I don't have to even guess about that. She did not put herself purposely in harm's way. And so she pulled out in front of you. You had to put on your brakes hard.
For her safety.
You weren't thinking about her safety. You're not thinking about anybody's safety. It's a reaction. If somebody pulls out unexpectedly, you put your brakes on. Right? That's not going through your mind for her safety. It's put your brakes on. I mean, because if you were thinking about her safety, then we wouldn't be here today. So after you put on your brakes to stop, did anything happen?
Some objects in the back of my truck dislodged, some stuff in the back of the seat moved.
And these things that got dislodged, did they get dislodged from the back cab in the truck or from the interior of the truck?
Both in the bed and the interior.
Okay, what got dislodged in the interior?
Some paperwork, some clothing.
Okay, so it fell on the floor.
Yes.
Okay, and in the back part of the truck?
Bed of the truck, some tools shifted also.
Didn't fall out of the truck. They just moved from one place to another.
That is correct.
What did you do next?
I proceeded to follow Miss Burke into the village because I live in the village.
When you say you followed her in, describe what you mean you followed her in.
She was in front of me, and I followed her into the village.
Don't play with me, sir. I read your complaint. You were tailing her.
Yes.
Yes. Well, let's say I was tailing her closely because you were annoyed.
Yes.
There we go. So you understand at this point, sir, that what you were involved in is road rage. You, not her. She was an accident. She was negligent. She wasn't paying attention. Let's say all of those things, not on purpose, because that would be stupid, and she has not recently been psychiatrically hospitalized. You, on the other hand, made a purposeful decision to tail her because you were annoyed that your tools moved. That's what happened. Would that be a fair statement, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, I was annoyed.
Okay, you were annoyed, and what followed was an incident of road rage. Your husband, you've been in the car with him when he's had a little bit of road rage? Think about it before you answer me. Have you been in the car with him when he has reacted in a different way from the way you would have reacted to another car?
He has, very minimal.
And the answer is either yes or no. Have you been with him in the car when he has reacted in a way that you would not have reacted in a traffic situation?
Yes, ma'am.
Caption coming up.
I assume that the police searched the truck.
The police searched me.
Did they search the truck?
I gave the police the authority to search my truck willingly.
They searched the truck.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brian and Shelley.
Brian Parkinson claims his neighbor, Shelley Burke, owes for the costs of being falsely arrested. Shelley is countersuing Brian for emotional distress, saying he threatened her with a gun.
And when he's reacted that way, did you ever say anything to him?
It was minimal. I didn't respond to it.
Really? Okay. Good. When my husband gets involved in one of those road rage things because somebody cuts him off, I'm all over him like white on rice. Are you crazy, putting me in jeopardy because you got a bad temper? That's what I say to my husband. She can attest to that. Me, I once said it to a police officer who pulled him over. Give him a ticket. Give him 2 tickets. Maybe he'll stop. Right?
True.
So now you're involved in a road rage hissy fit, and you're tailgating her. How many blocks did you tail her? Or how many miles did you tail her? Don't look as if you don't understand my question.
No.
Okay, good.
3/4 of a mile, if that.
Okay, well, that's a pretty long way, 3/4 of a mile. So you were tailing her for 3/4 of a mile. And at some point, did she make a turn with her car to avoid you tailing her?
Yes.
A 90-degree turn?
Yes.
So tell me, now you're following her for 3/4 of a mile, and she makes this turn.
Yes.
Now, when she made that sharp turn, did you follow her?
Nope.
No.
No.
No. I know you didn't follow her because she made that turn to get away from you. Do you understand? I've been on this earth a very long time. You, Mr. Parkinson, are an ordinary guy with a bad temper. So I've played this scene in my head, both from personal experience and from watching other jerks like you, in my head 100 times. So when she made this turn, she made the turn to get away from you, and you said, well, I accomplished my mission. I jarred her a little bit. That's if I believe your story, all of it. And you went home. Now, I'm to the point where she makes the turn and you went home. So far, correct?
That is correct.
Does that look familiar to you, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I would like you to walk over there, show me where the gas station is, and show me where you started to follow her.
I'll be more than happy to.
A map.
Of course, it says Shell right here. That's where the incident began.
Right.
She pulled out immediately in front of me, causing me to hit my brakes.
Just a second. So she caused you to hit your brakes?
Yes.
That I know.
Then she turned right. I followed her into the village. Everybody gets close.
No. Just show me. I followed her into the village and
Right
show me
here.
where you proceeded.
Then we drove down, and she turned, I believe, here or here.
Turned how?
To the right.
Okay. And you proceeded to your house?
Yes.
Okay. Now you can step back. So she turned off to get away from the maniac who was tailgating her because she had made a mistake in pulling out in front of him at a gas station. You go home, and what do you do when you get home?
I backed my truck in.
And then what did you do?
I got out of my truck to move the tools and stuff that had shifted to the front of the bed, to the back of the bed, where I can get to them better for work, because I had to slam on the brakes twice.
Mr. Parkinson, do you know what doesn't make sense to me? Your husband isn't a stupid man, is he?
No, ma'am.
No. Now, I don't drive a truck, but I know when I go to the store and buy 2 gallons of chicken soup with matzo balls, and I go to put them in the car, I say to myself, Judy, it's possible that you're going to have to stop short, that a light's going to turn red. So I put the chicken soup in between the front seat and the back seat of the car, and I move the seat so it's stable, so that if my car stops a little short, because even if it stops a little short, my chicken soup would be on the floor of the car. So I make sure that it doesn't move. It just doesn't make sense to me why you wouldn't secure this toolbox any better. If you stop short, those tools are naturally going to move, right? The weight of the tools is actually going to move. Okay, so I just am putting this whole thing in my head. Do you need a permit to buy a gun in Arkansas?
You do not have to have a permit to carry in Arkansas. It is an open carry state.
But you have to make an application.
You have to apply to buy a handgun or long rifle.
Have you ever done that?
Yes, I have, multiple times.
Just a second. So the answer is yes.
Yes.
What have you applied to buy?
Numerous guns.
Which you still have?
Yes.
I assume that you keep those guns within the proximity of your home.
They are all kept in the house, Your Honor.
The next thing, according to you, the police show up at your door.
That is correct.
And they have a conversation with you about a report.
Yes, they
that
did.
Someone has, in your area, has complained that there were shots fired by you out of your truck during this road rage incident.
That's what the statement says.
That's what the statement says. And I assume that the police searched the truck.
The police searched me.
Did they search the truck?
I gave the police the authority to search my truck willingly.
They searched the truck.
I told them they could.
Mr. Parkinson, I know that you think that I'm stupid. I know that you must think that I'm stupid. Did you give the police permission to search your house? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Of course not. Because in your house, they would have found multiple guns.
Correct.
In your house, that's a yes or a no. In your house, they would have found multiple guns.
Yes.
You keep multiple guns in your house, but don't carry one around for protection in your truck. When did they arrest you?
I was arrested on August 2nd.
Okay. And?
I was told to call the village police department. I promptly called them, and they told me I had a warrant for my arrest.
And?
I was very shocked.
And?
And I was charged with felony assault, and I had to pay $1,080 to bond and fees to get out of jail.
And?
I was released from jail. And then on the 17th, is that correct?
19th.
The 19th of August, I had a court date.
And?
It was nolle prost, due to the request of the village police department for lack of evidence.
Okay. And?
So I'm out that amount of money for bond for a false arrest because a false statement and half a day.
Okay, we're going to find out if it's a false statement. So far, I'm not thinking it's a false statement. I have to let that sink into you, Mr. Parkinson. So far, I'm not thinking it's a false statement. I'm going to hear the defendant. I know one thing for certain. You were involved in a road rage incident and you were the perpetrator. Whether or not you flashed a gun, she's going to tell me We certainly know that you have guns, according to you, multiple guns, in your house. I suppose you have a couple for you and a couple for your wife. Who else lives in your house with you?
Just the two of us.
Just the two of you. How many guns does he have in the house?
Caption, coming up, Shelley at the map.
So when I go around this one S-car, I hear a pop. And I'm like, oh my God, he just shot at us. I said, call 911. When I start coming back down again, I look in my passenger mirror. I saw the spark. I saw it. I'll never forget it. He popped the gun again.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Brian and Shelley.
Brian Parkinson is accusing his neighbor, Shelley Burke, of lying to the police and getting him falsely arrested. Shelley claims Brian was shooting his gun while following her home.
How many guns does he have in the house?
We have 2 long guns that he used for hunting, and we each have a handgun.
And you each have a handgun?
Yes.
Good.
They are in travel cases that are locked.
You want to know something? I don't believe that.
But we have grandchildren that come over.
When there were grandchildren, you may lock them. Okay, now we're going to you, Miss Burke. Did you see him when you cut him off?
I did not.
Let's start out with the fact that you were exiting the gas station. You didn't see him. You weren't paying attention. You didn't look that way. Whatever it was, you cut him off. So let's start from there.
You got it. This gray truck comes up behind me, swerving and revving his motor and all that. Got as close as he possibly could.
Why don't you show me over
I will
there?
do that. Okay.
Shelley approaches a map on a view screen.
There's 2 lanes going into the village. There's a left and a right lane. I go left, he goes right. Well, I get in front of him, and then he starts getting behind me, swerving his car back and forth, revving his motor. He is so close. He's probably closest to me and him. I mean, he's not a car length away. He's right up on my bumper. And revving his truck, and I'm going the speed limit. Then I turn, make a left. He's still right on me, never lets up. It's kind of a tricky area because it's curvy. So when I go around this one S-curve, I hear a pop. And I'm like, oh my God, he just shot at us. I said, call 911. When I start coming back down again, I look in my passenger mirror. I saw the spark. I saw it. I'll never forget it. And he heard it. We heard, even on the phone call, I think you can possibly hear it. He popped the gun again. And then he's on 911 talking to her, and the lady's saying, be calm, be calm. And I'm leaning down in the car. He's trying to tell me to go. He looks like he's going on past us. But when he does that, he rolls down the window, and you could see him holding a gun in his hand. And he says something I can't understand what he's saying. He's getting the license plate numbers. We thought he kept on going.
So your son got the license number?
Yeah, he got the license plate number. He's on the phone with 911 at this time.
And that's what was given to the police?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I got the 911 call here with us today.
I would like to hear it. Step back. Can I hear the 911 call, please?
Go!
911, what is your emergency?
Somebody was shooting at us.
What?
There's a pop.
Gray Toyota truck. He was shooting at us. His license plate number is...
I need all units. We got a vehicle that is, the complainant's on 911 saying the vehicle is shooting at them. I'm fixing to run the tag. Who am I speaking with?
This is Leslie Scott Rogers.
And you said what kind of vehicle was it?
It was a gray Toyota Tundra. Go.
It's coming back on a gray Toyota Tundra, and that's what the complainant says. It's a 2014 Toyota Tundra.
Okay, start that 911 call all over again. Pay careful attention, because I thought at the beginning of this tape, I too heard a shot. Could we start again, please? Take your hand out of your pocket.
Go!
911, what is your emergency?
Somebody was shooting at us.
There it is. There it is. Got it. You can stop it.
That doesn't sound like a gunshot.
Mm-hmm. Your case is dismissed, Mr. Parkinson. Your case is dismissed. I have a counterclaim, so stand where you are. The counterclaim is by Miss Burke for the emotional trauma that she, let's just talk about her, went through as a result of your road rage and shooting your gun at her, which you did. You probably didn't shoot it to hit her or to hit the car, because I don't think you're that stupid. Stupid, yes, but I don't think that's stupid. I think you did it to frighten her, just to frighten her. Then I think that you brought the gun that you keep in your truck when you work, maybe on your person, which you probably have a perfectly legal right to do, and you took the gun, you said, just in case something happens, because I did, in fact, shoot my gun in her direction, because I heard it on the 911 call. I better put it in the house. I better put it in the house. So you took the gun and you brought it into the house, and then saying, oh, police are here. Oh, well, search my truck. You won't find a gun. Search me. You won't find a gun on me. Don't search my house. And I guarantee you that you didn't say to the policeman when they came, I do have a gun, but it's locked in my house. Show me something where you told the police that you had a gun, but it was in the house. Nothing, because it didn't happen. Based upon that 911 call, the fact that you were involved in a road rage incident with her, tailing her at least 3/4 of a mile, right on her tail, causing that 911 call, as far as I'm concerned, that's trauma. My heart would have been racing triple time, because I don't know whether behind me is a lunatic or just a stupid guy who can't control his temper, and his wife hasn't been able to beat it out of him for the last how many years you're married. Because there's no question he's done that sort of thing before. Maybe not with a gun. Maybe not with a gun. When was the last time, sir, prior to this time that you were arrested? When was the last time prior to this time that you were arrested? Year.
19.
Then 19, your age or 2019?
2019.
2019. For what? Now, don't think, I know that if I were arrested once, a couple of years ago, I would have remembered what it was.
Well, I was arrested for supposed harassment, violation of no contact order. What else?
No, don't look at her.
It's been so many times, I can't remember.
So you've been arrested multiple times?
Yes.
Okay, good. Nice. You picked him.
I don't see how this pertains, Your Honor.
How does it pertain?
I do
for
exactly
your
how it pertains.
propensity for violence, sir.
This has nothing to do with violence.
No, it does have to do with her counterclaim. $5,000 is what your counterclaim is for. Is that correct? Judgment on the counterclaim for $5,000. Your claim is dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
It was a very bad day.
We do not carry weapons in our vehicles.
I won't even go out at night anymore because I'm scared he's coming by my house.
She described in the report a black weapon. We don't have a black handgun.
The truth is, I saw the guns.
Well, I think she created a situation by admitting she didn't see me.
I don't understand why he would even say that.
People want to drive stupid, let them, and just back off.
Judy.
The plaintiff was certainly not forthcoming. I let him search my truck. I let him search me. What about your house? Did you tell them I do have a gun, but it wasn't out, it wasn't me, because I leave my guns at, my 2 long guns and my 2 short guns at home? You could hear the pop in the first part of that when
911 call.
When he was hysterical. And believe me, he wasn't hysterical.
Just because someone's tailing you.
Just because someone's tailing you, you don't call 911. You pull into your house and you lock the door fast. You only do that if someone's pointing a gun. And so there's no question. There's no question that he did that. How dare you put someone in fear purposely?
You're just doing it to create a fear in someone. And to do that, especially to a woman driving in front of you in a small Camry, it says more about him than it says anything else, I think.
At that moment, I'd put him in jail for 5 days and say, yeah, next time, don't do it.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.here. Is suing his former friend, Alexandria Allen, for a washer and dryer.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2043, Pelletier versus Allen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This young lady is a friend of yours.
A former friend, correct.
How friend?
I met her from another mutual friend that I had, and we just formed a relationship together, just a friendship.
Are you married?
I'm not, I'm single.
Any kids?
No.
And what about the defendant?
She does have 2 kids and she is married.
Currently?
Yes, currently married.
Are you also friendly with her husband?
Yeah, just friends. We were, yeah, before all this took place.
So that all of you were friends?
Yes, at one point, yes.
Case is relatively simple. Miss Allen's washer and dryer stopped working.
Correct.
You had done some odds and ends things for her in the past.
Yes, worked on her car and stuff.
And did you find or did she find the used washer and dryer?
She asked me for recommendations and she found it on the selling app for used items.
So you told her where she might look for it?
Correct.
And she found it on an app online?
Correct.
Okay.
No, actually...
Look at me.
Okay. He made the recommendation to me.
Did you go on the app yourself?
No, I did not.
So you never saw the washer and dryer?
Well,
is that what you're... Just a second.
Oh.
So what you're saying, I just want to be clear. So I said, if you didn't go on the site, then you never saw the washer and dryer.
May I speak now?
Either you did go on the site and see it, or I didn't go on the site. I didn't see it.
He sent the picture of them to me, just a screenshot. That's all I got.
Okay. How old are you?
32.
You have 2 children?
Yes.
Did the screenshot show you where they came from?
I have a photo of them, and it doesn't say anything.
So is what you're telling me you didn't know where they came from?
Well, there is a name of the site. Would you like to know that?
I want to know if you knew it.
Yes, I know.
All right. Don't play with me.
Okay.
Don't play with me. You knew the site where the photo came from. So let's say you are correct, and I don't know. You said you needed a washer and dryer. You say he found the washer and dryer on a site, sent a photo to you and said, is this what you're looking for?
Correct.
Right? And on that screenshot was the site.
Right.
So you had at least access to the same site that he did.
That's correct.
And did the site give you the name of the person or persons to contact with regard to the washer dryer?
There was no one's name, just a phone number.
Did you call a phone number?
I didn't call them.
Who called them?
Mr. Pelletier.
Now, Mr. Pelletier didn't call them unless you said they look fine.
Well, I did say they looked fine.
Well, what else did you say?
Based on the picture, they looked.
Just a second. Just answer my question.
Okay.
Because what happened here is really relatively simple. And I don't know whether you're a simple person, but it's relatively simple. You had a friend. You told him I needed a washer and dryer. Mine broke down. He said, this is a great site. According to you, I'll look up, and he looked up the washer and dryer, and you did nothing. You, who needed the washer and dryer, you must work very hard. How many jobs do you have?
I have a couple of jobs. My children are a big job, for one, and 2, I'm a full-time university student, so I am busy.
So you should be able to get a washer and dryer by yourself. You farmed that job out to him.
I did because he volunteered to help.
Doesn't matter. He didn't volunteer to help unless you told him I need help. I mean, is what it is. Are you using him? I'm not sure.
I wouldn't.
I'm not sure. What do you do for him?
I watched his cats. When he went out on a vacation with his grandmother, and I took care of his cats free of charge because, well,
for how long?
I didn't expect him to be gone that long either. It was over a week, and I had to buy the cats food.
So, just a second. So you watched his cats?
Yes.
And is what you believed that him taking care of getting this washing machine payment for taking care of the cats?
Well, not just that. There's other things that happened while he was installing the washer and dryer.
I don't care about things that... What I'm asking you is I'm trying to figure out what kind of person says to a friend, I need a washer and dryer. He says, as a friend, I'll see if I can help you. You have time. You also go on the computer and figure it out. Being a full-time student is nice. That's what you chose. Somehow, you also support yourself and your 2 children. I don't even want to go into how that's done. However, you said, go get the washer and dryer. And he went, how long?
It's 50 miles from my house, an hour and 45 minutes.
Each way to pick up the washer and dryer that you authorized him to get. You said, go get it. It was $1,800.
Correct. And she offered $200 tip for the delivery of that.
For you?
Correct.
Okay.
And I have texts of that.
That's reasonable because you spent 3.5 hours in the car. Now, do they live on the 1st floor?
The 3rd floor.
3rd floor. Is it a walk up?
Yeah, it's stairway up to the 3rd floor.
So somebody had to go up and take the old washer dryer out. So, Miss Allen, was that you or your husband?
Mr. Pelletier also removed them.
No, you can move your mouth. It's okay if you move.
No,
it's okay if you move your mouth.
Alexandria smirks. Caption coming up.
I feel like I was being very kind because I didn't decide to sue him for his cat or the damages he did to the cats.
I'm telling you, I don't know what your excuse is.
I feel like
I don't care what you feel like. I don't care what you feel like.
And later today.
When we went to transfer the title over together at the DMV, I had to pay off whatever tolls that I had. So between that time and the time where he ended up taking the car back, I don't really know how there was $600 worth of tolls.
I don't know either, but that's what I'm going to find out.
A woman shrugs. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Hunter and Alexandria.
Hunter Pelletier claims his former friend, Alexandria Allen, is responsible for the cost of a washer and dryer.
The plaintiff walked up the 3 flights of steps, carried each of the washer and dryers downstairs, took the washer and dryers from downstairs up the 3 flights, got them installed, and you didn't like them. They were a different color.
And they're busted up. They don't even work properly.
Okay. Miss Allen, when did this happen? In what month?
January 7th of 2022.
You have receipts for different washers and dryers that you purchased since January of 2022?
I do not have the receipts, no.
That means that you didn't purchase them.
Well, I never paid him for them.
No. That means that you never purchased new ones. That means that you're still using the ones he bought.
Correct. But
right.
It does not work well.
Just, you bought used washer and dryer. You've been using them January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, 8 months, and you're still using them. And you neither paid for them, nor did you pay him for delivery. And I don't know what your excuse is.
I feel like
I don't care what you feel like. I don't care what you feel like. You made a contract with him to go and pick up washers and dryers, disconnect yours, take them out of your house, install these, lay out the money to pay for these, use them for 8 months, and not pay them because you weren't happy with them.
I feel like I was being very kind because I didn't decide to sue him for his cat or the damages he did to the cows.
I'm telling you, you should stay in school. How much did you pay for the washer and dryer?
$1,800, and I took the money out of the bank. She had asked me because her ATM has a low limit, so I went into the branch of my own bank.
That's what you're suing for $1,800?
Yeah, I wanted to get the $200 if possible, but at this point, I just want the money for the machines.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. $1,800.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Alexandria.
It damaged the walls of my apartment. They banged it up.
She saw right through everything, the damages, she said.
The machines were overpriced.
None of that happened from me. I'm not a professional installer.
I don't think he cared because it wasn't his money.
At the time, they were less than 6 months old from original purchase date, so they were still worth the money that they were asking.
I don't know. I don't think we're going to be friends anymore.
I don't need friends like that, no.
Sarah and Judy.
So this case touched a little upon agency, like an agent-principal relationship, where here the plaintiff was actively acting as her agent by going and picking up these washing machines for her. They had had communications beforehand about this is what they look like, this is what they cost, I'll do it for you for $200. Is this what you want to do? She says yes. You don't get to just then back out of it because you don't like the color. You knew what they looked like. You knew they were used. There was no bait and switch. I was almost waiting for an explanation, for a bait and switch, he put the nice ones in his house and then gave me not so nice ones. But there was nothing. There was very rarely do we see no excuse for.
And she's using them.
Yeah, still for almost a year.
They're all banged up. They were all banged up. Well, that's what happens when you buy something that's used. Mm-hmm. When you buy something over the internet, which is really what she did, she could have just as easily said to him, before you load them in the truck, please take pictures of them so that I see them.
Yes, she could have.
So she could have. Did nothing.
That's not his fault.
It's not his fault.
Yeah.
Also allowed him to take the other stuff down, put the other stuff up, and then say, well, they were banged up. And
$200 to move 4 heavy machines is a low price as far as I'm concerned.
Not a friend anymore.
Yeah.
Case number 2017. Alvarez versus Coover. All parties, please step forward.
Avrian Alvarez is suing his former friend, Brianna Coover, for toll charges.
Mr. Alvarez, this is not a very difficult case. It's a question of dates. You bought a new car.
Yes, ma'am.
You knew the defendant somehow through her boyfriend or?
He's my cousin.
Okay, so you purchased a new car. You had an older car that you were still paying off. And Miss Culver needed a car, and you made an arrangement with her where she would take over the monthly payments on your old car, so that you would just be paying your new car, and when she finished making the payments on the car would be hers.
That's correct.
You did, in fact, conclude that agreement, and Miss Coover did, in fact, pay off the car.
Yes, ma'am.
She paid off the car. However, she did not register the car in her name.
That's correct.
And you had your plates on the car, and it is your claim that while the car was in her possession, she racked up $600 and some odd in toll fees.
Yes, Your Honor.
Which is what you're suing for.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Culver said that didn't happen. She had her own Easy Pass, toll pass, whatever it is. And there was no way that those tickets were incurred while she was in possession of the car. And additionally, she's got some very sad story. She paid off the car. She didn't register it for some reason. She didn't register it, which I don't have to get into. You took the car back because you were afraid that your plates were on the car, and you started to get these dunning notices for tickets. Then you had to give the car back because you had given her the title to the car when she finished paying off the car, despite the fact she hadn't registered it. And then you took the license plates back, which is a very smart thing to do, because then she couldn't use them to get through the tolls. And because you took the plates off and she didn't register it and get new plates, it was towed from her parking space at her condo, taken to a lot where she didn't have enough money to get the car out, and the car was auctioned off, and now she has no car. And you have $600 worth of tickets in your name.
Yes, ma'am. You got it.
Is that it?
That is a version of the story, yes.
Well, I will let you tell me a different version.
Everything is true thus far. We did have the agreement where he wanted a new car, I needed a car.
No, I got that. I just want to know what I said that was incorrect. I just made it shorter.
Just to clarify, when we went to transfer the title over together at the DMV, I had to pay off whatever tolls that I had before they're able to transfer the title over. So that was done. So between that time and the time where he ended up taking the car back, I don't really know how there was $600 worth of tolls.
I don't know either. That's what I'm going to find out. But is there any part of the story that I just told that was inaccurate?
Brianna hesitates. Caption coming up.
He transferred over the car to you. You had possession of the car. He didn't.
Correct.
Other than you who drove the car. Come on, that's a question. And other than you who drove the car.
Nobody.
No. Who drove your car?
Judy glares at Brianna. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Avrian and Brianna.
Avrian Alvarez claims his former friend, Brianna Coover, owes for toll charges. Brianna says she already paid for the toll charges.
He says that you had possession of the car. He got notification that there were tickets. You say that you didn't go through tolls. He said, I didn't have possession of the car. Is there anything that is incorrect about that? So it's just a question of dates. It's not a difficult case. It's a question of dates.
Correct.
Okay, so give me the date that you made this arrangement to pay off the car.
I don't know the exact date.
She took over the car payments starting July 2019.
And when was it paid off?
May 16th, 2021.
When it was paid off, did you sign the title over to her and the lien holder did?
Going back and forth at that time, I was trying to get her to come over to where I live so we could go to get the car transferred. We ultimately settled on a date, and then the DMV over there said that she had to have a sheriff verify the VIN and the odometer before we could transfer it over. I guess it's a rule in the county. So at that moment, then yes, we signed it over to her so she could do it at her local DMV.
And that was on what date?
That was July 9th.
Now, between July of 2018 and July of 2021, did you ever drive that car?
No, ma'am.
When did you initially take the car back from her?
I took the car back September 11th of 2021.
And how long did you have the car when you took it back because of these tickets?
I texted her on September 15th and told her that she could go pick the car up because I had found out that I
couldn't do that.
Exactly.
There's a self-help for that.
Correct.
Okay, so you had the car between September 11th and September 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
Other than that period of time, did you ever drive the car from July 18th until the present time?
No, ma'am.
So if there were any tickets that were accrued, it was either by the defendant or somebody who drove the car with defendant's permission.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the dates of the tickets.
Avrian flips through a pile of documents.
Ms. Coover, you don't question the fact that between July 2018 and today's date, with the exception of between September 11th and the 15th of 2021, he did not have possession of the car.
Correct. The only reason that when we transferred the title over, we had an agreement.
Just a second. That's all I asked you. This is not a conversation. I just want to know who got the tickets. Whoever got the tickets is responsible for them.
Mm-hmm.
So he only had the car, so if there are any tickets there that were between September 11th and September 15th in 2021, they belong to him. Any other tickets from 2018 July until infinity are yours.
Brianna nods. Kevin hands Avrian's documents to Judy, who reviews them.
Well, we have invoice date is 7/28/21. That would be you.
Correct.
June 30th, 2021, 7/1/2021, 7/2/2021, again 7/2, 7/3, 7/6, 7/6, 7/7, 7/8, 7/8, 7/22, and 7/28 of 2021. Those are all you.
Correct.
August 28th, 2021. That would be you.
Yes.
3/3/6/9/19/28 of 2021. August. That all would be you.
Yes. I never argued that that wasn't me. I'm just, from the moment that we officially transferred the title over, we were not able to transfer the title over until I paid.
Oh, just show, you paid these?
And we were together.
Now, just a second. Show me that you paid them.
I have this receipt.
Just show me that you paid them, that's it.
Brianna hands her phone to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
And that would have been what was due at the time when we transferred the title over.
I'm just going by the dates of the tickets, madam. I don't care how the government screws up. That's not my problem. Okay, show me your payment. May I see it, please?
Judy reviews Brianna's phone.
It should say the date there and the cost of those tolls on the day.
This is your SunPass. You replenished your SunPass.
That's a payment to SunPass.
For $154.
And that's what it was on the day that we transferred the title over. So my thing is, from the day that we transferred the title over to the day that he came to my parents' house and took the car, there was no way that I racked up $600 in tolls.
I don't know whether you did or didn't. Then take that up with Department of Motor Vehicles. That's what they say you racked up between that period of time. He didn't have possession of the car. You had possession of the car from the time he transferred over the car to you. You had possession of the car. He didn't.
Correct.
Well, other than you, who drove the car? Come on, that's a question. And other than you, who drove the car?
Nobody.
No. He never drove your car.
No.
Who drove your car?
I did.
Who else?
Nobody.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $654. We're finished here. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Avrian, then Brianna.
Quick and simple case. She did what she needed to do.
I can't really say I'm super surprised, I guess.
I was just asking for payment on the tolls and I wasn't getting any responses.
I don't know how in literally 3 months I didn't rack up $600 in tolls.
It is what it is.
He was okay with me continuing to use his
Take my license plate with me.
license plate until one day he wasn't, and then he wanted all that money.
Judy and Sarah.
So, what would be your takeaway from that?
I think as a layperson, my takeaway would be if you're going to sell a car, especially to someone you don't know well, it's not a family member, it's, either a stranger or acquaintance, take your own plates off the car. Get a receipt, bring it to DMV, because your name, your address, your phone number will be tied to tickets, SunPass charges, and even maybe an accident. You just don't want your name associated with the vehicle anymore once you relinquish your ownership of it. So take your plates.
That's the takeaway.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy.
Judge Judy enters.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2115, Attar versus Rose.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Attar, you were hired to do some, according to you, demolition work and other work at a property owned by Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes. You gave them an estimate for that work. I think the estimate was $11,500. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it was outlined what work you were supposed to do. You started that work, and according to you, at some point there was disagreement with either or both of the Rhodeses, and they stopped payment on a check that they gave you.
Correct.
And the check that they gave you was for $4,200. And then you stopped work for them.
Yes, ma'am. We're finished.
So you're suing them for the canceled check and for other unpaid work that you did that you didn't get paid for.
Correct.
Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes say that they were not satisfied with the quality of your work. It cost them $9,000 to both replace things that were stolen from their property by either you or members of your team, something which I don't think that you question that somebody from your team, not you, somebody from your team may have taken metal property of theirs that they didn't own. So let's go back. Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes, is this a new property to you, or is this a property that you owned for a while?
It's a new property to us.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So is it a private house?
Yes, and we were remodeling it.
Okay, when did you purchase it?
We purchased in January of 2021.
Is it a single-family residence?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
$769,000.
Describe the property to me.
It's in northern Altaloma or Rancho Cucamonga. It's an acre property, has 2 levels on it, and a single-family ranch-style home on it right now. And what we asked him to do was demolition the lower half.
Do you have a photograph?
I do.
I'd like to look at a photograph of what you wanted him to do.
Mary hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
That's what the lower half looked like before.
So this whole portion you wanted him
correct
to demolish and remove the debris.
And grade flat.
Is that correct, sir?
I can't see from here, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'm going to show it to you. To demolish it, flatten it, fill it in.
Remove all the debris.
Yes.
Okay. And did you have a written contract?
We did not.
Well, that's always a mistake.
Always.
How did you find him?
I believe I got his business card. It was on my personal car, I think at Home Depot. We had bought this house and we tried to find somebody to do the work, but
Mr. Rhodes, let me tell you that the best way to find somebody is not somebody who leaves a card on your car at Home Depot or any place else.
Yeah.
It was a difficult time to find contractors with COVID and everything at that time.
And at the time, I'm also going to add, because I read in the paper somewhere at the time, he didn't have a license.
He did not.
And you knew he didn't have a license.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I told him, Your Honor. I do not
Just a
have
second.
license.
They didn't say no, we didn't know. They said we knew. So you got somebody who had no license to do what you wanted him to do, and you got his number from a card that he left on your windshield. Did you ask for references? That's either a yes or a no.
No, and I'm not really sure actually 100% on where I found that card. I think it
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he did tell us he was in the process of getting his license, that it was coming.
Yeah. I know.
What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You're two intelligent people. Okay. So you hired an unlicensed contractor to do work on your house and agreed to pay him $11,500. Now, Mr. Rattar, the $11,000 included labor and materials. Is that correct?
There was no material. It was labor and bins.
Well, that's material. Labor and bins to remove
Yes, ma'am.
all the equipment that you needed
Yes, ma'am.
to complete the job.
Yes, ma'am. I
Is
got
that
pictures
correct?
of before, too, of what I was supposed to do, and I took a picture.
Well, no, I have that.
You have the wrong picture, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to see the picture that he has.
Kevin retrieves a photo from Attar, then hands it to Judy.
I was supposed to do from the post all the way to the other post, remove everything, and the pool and the deck.
Mr. Attar, the $11,500 was an all-inclusive figure.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that became an issue is a bobcat.
Correct.
From what I'm piecing together, you hired somebody in a bobcat to do a bobcat. That's a big piece of equipment that knocks down something.
I rented a bobcat.
And somebody who operated it.
My worker.
You didn't know how to operate the bobcat.
I know how to operate bobcat, but I was controlling the demolition site, ma'am. I was like, many things were going at the same time. I had to control everything.
Mr. Rattar, something happened with the bobcat, the original one that you got. What happened with it?
It broke down on us.
No, it didn't break down on them. It broke down on you.
On us.
It broke down on you.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I took it back, and next day supposed to deliver me another one, but they sent me a drunk driver and another broken down bobcat. I returned it. At that moment, I asked Mrs. Rhodes, can you please go down Home Depot, which is like a mile away, so we don't stop wasting time, rent a bobcat.
Just a second. Why should she rent a bobcat, sir? Your $11,500 included the bobcat.
But I was paid for
No. If you're going to pay for it, that's one thing. Then what are you sending her for? If your $11,500 figure included all materials, then she doesn't have to rent a Bobcat. If you rented one that didn't work, rent one that works. How much of a down payment did they give you?
Presume was $4,000.
When did you start the job?
I started the job on 15th of January.
When did you leave the job?
I was asked to leave on the 2nd of February.
On February 2nd?
Yes, ma'am. Not to go back, I'll call the cops on you.
Between January 15th and February 2nd, other than the $4,000, did they give you any other money?
Yes, Your Honor, they did.
How much money did they give you?
They gave me up to $7,000.
So they gave you an additional $3,000?
Yes, and $1,000 check.
Your Honor, that was within the first week we gave him.
It doesn't matter to me. My question was between January 15th and February 2nd, they gave you $7,000.
Correct.
Explain the other $4,200, which is the check that they stopped payment on.
Okay. I'll happily explain to you. The Bobcat she rented for me on her behalf, it cost $329 to rent per day. And I rented for 1 day only, but they charged me $800.
No, that's not correct.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything.
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Attar and Mary and Michael Rhodes.
Michael Attar claims his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, owe for unpaid demolition work. Mary and Michael are countersuing for lost wages, equipment rental, and missing property.
Now, they paid you $7,000.
Correct.
They wrote you another check.
The final check was supposed to be $5,000, but they only gave me $4,200 because they minus $800 for the Bobcat rental.
Just a second. First of all, the total bill wasn't 7 and 5. 7 and 5, even my rudimentary math, is $12,000. That would be $500 more than your agreed contract, which was for $11,500.
They gave me $6,500 because they gave me small checks. They gave me the first initial check,
a second.
They gave me smaller ones.
Sir, you're the businessman, whether you have a license or not. I asked you before how much money did they give you between January 15th and February 2nd, and you said $7,000.
I didn't write it down, Your Honor.
Well, you're here asking for money, and you have to write it down.
I'm
you
asking
have to
for
have
work
some.
I've done performed already. And
No, sir.
And I just did the job, Your Honor. I did 7, 8 other side jobs for them.
I don't care whether you did 7 or 8 side jobs. Your original agreement with them was for $11,500, including all material. Now, what you said to me was that they gave you $7,000, and you said they're supposed to give me another $5,000. Well, another $5,000 is more than your quote.
Ma'am, the balance was $5,000.
How?
The initial check, then they gave me $1,000, $1,000, $1,000.
How much money did you give them all together that he cashed?
$7,000.
Then they owed you $4,500, pursuant to your agreement.
We agreed to $11,000, not $11,500.
$11,500, Your Honor.
Anybody have any proof of what the agreed amount was?
We had a verbal contract with me, Mr. Rhodes.
Fine. I will indicate that it's $11,500. If they gave you $7,000, they don't owe you $5,000. They owed you the difference between $11,500 and the $7,000 that they gave you. Now, one of the things that you disputed, Mr. Attar, was this Bobcat. Who paid for the Bobcat? Show me.
They minus it from the final price.
Just a second. Was that an argument?
The argument about is, Your Honor, is they rented for 1 day, but they charged me 2 days, $800. There's no Bobcat rental for $800 for 2 days. I got.
Do you have the bill for the Bobcat?
I do, yes. And it was for 2 days.
Go over a certain time.
Because it was returned late. So they charged a second day. But in his text messages, he did request it for 2 days.
Mary hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Is that the total price?
Yes, and I did not subtract it from his payment.
Total contract was $652.74?
Yes.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you. Just show me a picture.
Yes, ma'am.
Attar hands a photo to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
This is not a picture.
Mr. Attar, you're the businessman.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your company.
Yes, ma'am.
Company requires A, a license before you operate, which you didn't have.
If you do.
B, it requires a written contract. You're the businessman. They're people who bought a house who got your number off a windshield someplace. You're the businessman, and you want the parameters. You want them fixed. So I don't know if it's 11,000 or 11,500. Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Right. Well, that's your mistake. You look as if you've probably been in business for a long time.
14 years.
And is what you're telling me you don't have written contracts?
All my contracts are verbal.
Then how many times have you been in court, sir?
Never.
Never.
I've never had a stop payment check. Never paid me on time, Your Honor.
It's a problem. So when you finished, the debris wasn't all removed.
That wood, they kept telling me, don't touch it. Their neighbor, cousin, whoever's going to come pick it up. That was just cut court wood.
No. There's brick, there's wood, there's cement.
We cleaned all that. I personally cleaned all that.
Just a second. What I asked you, Mr. Attar, was show me a picture of the property when you left. This is the picture that you showed me.
That was the last, before I had more work, I came in and did more. I wasn't taking pictures. I wasn't expecting somebody to stop payment on a check, Your Honor. I was not expecting that.
What it looked like when he left.
Mary hands a photo to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Well, what are you showing me here? This brick that's here?
They piled it there and then left it there.
Well, that's probably a good one.
No, it was supposed to be removed.
So this is the back.
That's the picture of the sagging patio because he removed part of the supports that were holding up the patio that he wasn't supposed to. So it's now sagging.
Now, this is the picture that you gave me when you told me this is what you wanted, leveled, cleared, and made flat.
Right.
Now, I want to see your picture of what this looked like when he left.
You have it. It's in some of those photos.
Flat's leveled.
You're talking about this?
Yeah.
That's part of it. The close-ups, that's part of it.
Well, it looks like most of the stuff is done. It looked like a lot of cleanup left.
No, ma'am. We've done all the cleanup.
Well, I haven't seen that, so then what you're supposed to do is take a photograph.
It was also buried underneath. These are the photos of when we did it ourselves and really leveled it out. And as we were doing that, we found so much buried underneath that should have been removed, but his Bobcat person buried it all.
Your Honor.
I mean, buried
all the debris, all the concrete brick.
Okay, let me see the bill from the...
No, we did it ourselves. We rented equipment and did it ourselves on his vacation.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, $4,500 is so far what's owed on this contract. Now, your counterclaim is money owed for lost work, equipment rentals, labor and missing damages to property. What money owed for lost work?
During the second week that he was working, he called and said that his crew had left. This was the second day of use of, supposed to be use of the Bobcat that I rented.
Okay, if you interrupt me again, I'm just dismissing your case. Do you understand?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So just explain lost work. Who's lost work?
His.
Oh, forget it.
Well, he called and said his crew left.
Forget it.
He can't finish the job.
You weren't living there.
Not yet, no.
You weren't living there. Okay. He wants to go. I'm not interested in his lost wages for taking care of his house. So far, you owe the man the balance on his contract unless you had somebody else do it, which is absolutely fine. And I would look at that removal of debris, what it costs you, and you're absolutely entitled to that. Deducted from what you owe him, which is $4,500.
But he didn't finish the job.
Just a second. You tell me, how am I supposed to gauge how much of the job he didn't finish? Did he not complete $2,500 worth? $3,500 worth? $1,500 worth?
I think the $7,000 we paid him was overpaid. He didn't have to end up removing an entire pool. He only had to remove...
That's your problem. Just a second. I read that. You said it's not a big pool. It wasn't 8 feet. It was only 24 inches. He gave you a price to level everything. Nothing delineated, nothing in a written contract. The pool turns out to be 2 feet instead of 6 feet or 2 feet instead of 8 feet. Well, if he was the contractor and he came out and he looked at the pool, he said, oh, this is an 8-foot pool, and it turned out it's a 12-foot pool, he'd be stuck with 11.5, just like you're stuck with 11.5 because it was shallower. Now, you owe him $4,500 unless you want to produce for me bills that you have for rental equipment, et cetera, and I will absolutely deduct that from the $4,500. Just give me the bills and the amount of equipment. Don't say nothing, Mr. Retard. Mr. Rhodes, did you rent a Bobcat?
The one that I cleaned up the yard with?
Yes.
I rented a piece of equipment.
Jump up!
Yes.
Caption, coming up.
And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir.
people
I'm a
that drive down the
television
street will pick up
personality.
drugs.
I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Attar and Mary and Michael Rhodes.
Michael Attar has accused his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, of refusing to pay for demolition work. Mary and Michael claim he never finished the job and stole their property.
Now, what did you rent?
A skip loader.
That's different from a Bobcat.
Yes, that's correct.
Smaller?
I would say bigger.
Bigger. And do you remember how much it cost you? Did you rent it from Home Depot?
No. It's from a local rental yard. I think it was
All the equipment we
in
rented
Ontario.
was $1,300.
Yeah.
Find it.
Yeah.
Find the bill.
They didn't print it, so now I gotta.
How many days did you have it, Mr. Rhodes?
4.
I'm dismissing your counterclaim, Mrs. Rhodes. Do you want to know why? Because I asked him a specific question, and you answered. Do you understand? Do you understand? That part of your counterclaim, because you don't have it, you can't find it. So far you owe him $4,500. Not $8,600, but $4,500. Now, do you have any proof that Mr. Attar or someone from his team stole copper piping or whatever piping that you claim was missing? Do you have any proof that either Mr. Attar or anyone under his authority took property from you?
Yes. We have text messages back and forth.
Okay, I'll read them.
Mary produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
Okay, so what you're referring to with regard to the stolen property is you send a picture and there's a little piece of pipe there, one piece of pipe, and you say, Mike, did you or you guys happen to grind off 2 metal poles and concrete blocks? The kids use those for volleyball nets. And he says, oh my God, no, sir, but I'm guessing the person whom I gave my metal to, no problem, Michael, please give, and I don't see the rest of this message.
Yes, so that was the beginning of things we noticed that were missing.
Oh, I don't care.
And then,
this is what you're talking about?
Yes, he's saying he let a metal person onto our yard,
Okay.
and they went and took everything that was metal.
Okay.
Attar shakes his head.
Okay, now, Mr. Attar.
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me about the missing metal on this property.
She was standing right there, and there was a metal guy that drives down the street. And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir.
There's people
I'm a
that drive down the
television
street will pick up
personality.
drugs.
I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Okay. Who is this person?
This person was picking up metal, and I asked for permission. I said, ma'am,
Just a
could he come
second.
down the property?
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Was this person picking up metal for nothing?
Yes,
Just a second. Yeah. No. You're a business guy. Mr. Attar, somebody drives down the street and says, you know, I see you doing construction. Is there any metal around here that you want me to dispose of?
Yes, ma'am. They do a lot.
Yes. And then they look around. This is what you tell them. They look around and they take the metal for nothing.
Yes, ma'am. It's to be cheaper for me instead of load it on my trailer and take it to the recycling metal yard.
So what metal did they take, sir? I assume
Everything
you what?
that I gave him.
What
was
did you
right
give
there.
them?
Nobody went up there and cut no poles, ma'am.
Well, they sent you a picture of a pole, sir, and in response to the picture of the pole, you said, oh my God, I'm guessing the person whom I gave my metal to.
I'm guessing.
No problem. And then you say later, tell me what it is, and I will either look high and low to get it back or replace it. That's what you say.
Yes, I offered to replace it.
That's what you say.
I offered to
Okay.
replace it.
Now, next question. I need an itemized list of what the value was of the metal taken.
No, there's a list of everything. They're listed in there.
Mary hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
What is this?
Those are all the damages, but the metal is listed in there separately of the items that are missing.
No, it isn't. This is a whole bunch of other things that you prepared for this case.
It's in there underneath. There's the horse feeder. Part of the corral was cut
Well,
off.
this is something that you wrote yourself.
Yes, you
This
said
isn't
an itemized
this isn't
list.
it. If they took 6 feet of pipe, get me a bill from Home Depot for the replacement of that pipe.
Oh, I have
all the bills for the replacement of metal, not what you prepared for this litigation.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Itemized list.
Mary hands another document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Did you take down a horse corral?
No, Your Honor, I did not take no horse corral. I have nothing
Horse
to
corral,
do.
is that metal or is it?
It's made out of galvanized metal, yeah. They cut pieces off of that were sticking up to take to recycle, I guess.
Just a second. Was there a 4-sided horse corral?
Yes.
That looked like this?
Yes.
That they took down?
They cut pieces that were sticking up above the horse corral, attached to the horse corral.
You're being petty. You're being petty. $306, Ram's price, galvanized wall-mounted horse feeder. Did you take a horse feeder?
No, Your Honor, I got no...
Yo, Mr. Ratar, $4,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. Counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Mary, then Atar.
Well, his equipment broke, and he wanted us to rent the equipment for him.
Equipment died because things break down.
And then the next day, he calls and says he can't finish it.
At that moment, I didn't have a credit card to my name. And that's the honest truth.
So we pretty much figured that was job abandonment at that point.
I'm gonna have a written contract in the future. Don't hire
Always
him.
hire a professional.
Sarah and Judy.
I could not believe that your first question to him when he said that he'd been working as a contractor for 14 years was, and you've been working all 14 of those years unlicensed?
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for the
Yeah.
question. I was waiting at the edge of my seat, and it never came.
Different minds. Yeah. Should have slipped me a note.
I should have.
You should have slipped me a note. No, that actually didn't cross my mind, but that's a good question.
Yeah, oral contracts and no license.
No license, but there's no question. He did the work.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He did the work, and they were really dickering over who was going to absorb the cost of the second Bobcat that they had to get, which was really ridiculous. If they had had another contractor who came and completed the job,
You would have awarded that.
I would have deducted it from the $4,500 that they owed him. But absent that, the fact that he rented some sort of piece of equipment and came and cleaned up the property was not important to me, and the rest of their case was nonsense. Next time, they won't employ somebody for $11,000 from a card from your windshield.
At Home Depot.
From
Anywhere.
wherever, and not say, okay, listen, maybe I give him a shot. Give me 3 of your last references to call.
It's a good lesson to people out there, doing work.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're done.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv. His wife, Jacoby and Kelly Kelm, owe for the cost of a van and lost property.
All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case 2127, Kim versus Kim.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Holly.
Miss Kelm, this is your son and your wife.
Yes.
What's your first name?
Jacoby.
What do they call you?
Jake.
How old are you, Jake?
31.
How long have you been married?
7 years.
Prior to getting married, were you married to someone else?
Yes.
For how long?
5 years.
Did you ever live with your mother?
No.
When was the last time you lived with your mother?
I was 17, I believe.
Okay, so you had a reasonable relationship with your mother?
Yes.
Until when?
Until I'd say September of this year.
September of 2022?
Correct.
This is about a car. Is your claim that you sold your son a car and he didn't pay you? His defense is that it was a gift. There was never a discussion about payment. When you turned over the car to your son, according to what I've read, you signed over the documents that allowed him to register the car in his own name, which he did. So he registered the car in his own name. Is the car still driving now?
No, it is not.
Where is it?
It got scrapped.
When?
October 3rd, 2022, which I have the receipt for that as well.
When did your mother turn the car over to you?
May 31st.
What kind of car was it?
2006 Chrysler Town & Country.
What happened to it?
Transmission went out on it, and it had some electrical issues. It kept draining the battery.
Had you spent anything to have those issues addressed?
Not on the transmission. I did replace the battery 3 times.
Did you buy a new car?
Yes.
How much?
$700.
What kind of car?
2003 Nissan Altima.
Why don't you tell me the circumstances, Jake, of the transfer of the car from your mother to you. Tell me the date that happened.
I got the title on the 30th
of May.
On the 31st, I was able to transfer it.
Tell me about the conversation with your mother when she signed over the title to you. She says you were supposed to pay her some $800 for the car.
No, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me what the conversation was with your mother when she gave you the title. You came to her, you didn't have a car.
Right.
You didn't have a car, you needed a car. And?
She said, you know, the van's sitting over at the other property. It's just been sitting there for the last year. You can go over and if it starts, you can use it. And it did. She said, however, you cannot take the van until the title's transferred. Then at which point she gave me the title and the lien card for it. I went to the DMV, I transferred it, came back, got the van, and I was on my way. About a month and a half later, she was saying that if you give me $500, I'll put it in the safe for you, and then I'll just give it to you when you need it.
You have any communication with your mother about the car?
Not anymore.
I mean, communication in writing.
Oh, yes, I do. But nothing about payments. I mean, there was a few texts here and there saying, I want my money, or I'll take the van back.
I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Jake hands documents to Kevin.
I might have one more in here. There's this one as well.
He hands another document to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews a text exchange.
Jake, on September 3rd, Jake, you said, not sure what's going on with you, but this is getting ridiculous. I'll pay you when I have the money.
Right.
That's what you said.
Yep. I'm not saying I don't owe her anything. I'm just saying I was going to give her something just to show.
No. So on September 3rd, you got the car at the end of May, so June, July, and August you had the car, and you said, I'm not sure what's going on with you. Maybe, Mom, you're having issues that I don't know about, but this is getting ridiculous. I'll pay you when I have the money. That's an acknowledgement that you owe your mother the money.
Correct.
Okay. And how much did you agree to sell him the car for?
Car was $800.
Okay. Tell me about discussing with him the cost of the car and what you were going to sell it to him for.
We were at my friend's house, and we were playing marbles and having a few beers like we always do. We get together a lot. And he didn't have a vehicle, so we discussed he could use mine. And at that time, he said, well, he'd rather buy it. And then I said, okay, I will sell the van, which I was talking to my daughter about. She wanted to buy it also. And I told them both it was $800. And you could shake your head, no, that's true. But it was $800. And he said, okay, could he get it right away? And I said, well, first of all, I can't let you drive it because you're not insured. And then we talked about he was gonna buy it and he would take it. I said, you gotta transfer the title first. So he did all that.
Okay, well, that's responsible of both of you.
Yeah, there's no way we could leave it, go with no insurance. So then they took the van, and I told them first I need to clean it out because I have a bunch of stuff in there. They said they would clean it out, but they needed a vehicle right away, and I said, okay.
When was the first time you asked him for money?
Holly looks up. Caption, coming up.
$800 is a substantial amount of money.
He would get a paycheck and he would go to the casino or go to the racetrack or whatever. And I said, well, what about paying me some money?
And later today.
You sound like a really bright young man.
I appreciate that, Your Honor.
You really should find something important to do.
I've changed sectors since then, Your Honor.
Judy grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Holly, Jake, and Kelly.
Holly Kelm claims her son and his wife, Jacoby and Kelly Kelm, owe for the cost of a van and lost property.
Okay, when was the first time you asked him for money?
In the summer sometime. I mean, we'd get together at my friend's house, and it's probably a month later I asked him, are you gonna pay something on the van? I couldn't even say an exact date because, like I said, we got together, we played cards, and we would have a few beers with my friends over at her place, and then we'd discuss the van a little bit, discuss the money.
Just for my own curiosity, you've seemed to have, up until this point, a very fine relationship with your son and his wife. Is there something that interfered with that? I mean, $800 is a substantial amount of money, but odd to bring it to a lawsuit.
There is really nothing that interfered with our relationship except for him not paying me some money. And in between this time, and you both know this.
Don't look at me.
There's one text in here, do you have any money I could borrow? And well, I didn't have any money. I think I probably had 20, and I would give it to him. Because being a mom, I don't want to see him hurting, but I told him, you still have to pay me for my car.
Okay. And he acknowledges that he would pay you for the car when I have it.
But he would get get a paycheck, and he would go to the casino or go to the racetrack or whatever. And I said, well, what about paying me some money? I said, can you at least give me $25 so I can pay for my medicine? I don't have it. Okay.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I'm glad at least I'll get my money back for my van.
There's a lot of things that my mom did say that were very untrue.
I love him. I will always love him. He's my baby.
You just don't sue family over something so stupid.
Judy.
You know, I'm really happy that I finally learned how to text.
Yeah, and how useful text messages can be.
Because, I was late to the game with all this electronic stuff. Anyway, these text messages have become so vital to adjudicating cases because younger people memorialize everything, including what they have for breakfast and lunch and how they're feeling and what they're doing in text messages. But for the text message that he gave me, which said, I owe you the money, I'll pay you when I have it.
I think people, especially younger generation, think it's a flippant, I'm going to send this text really quick, or I'm going
to somebody on the phone.
Exactly, like it's a conversation, but they don't realize the legal implications of sending a text from your phone number, admitting a debt, even if that's not what you intended at the time you sent the text. Now there's this altercation, and you bring it to court.
Right, and it's memorialized in a writing, coming from your phone.
Got to be careful with what you text.
Yeah.
Case 2132, Eagle versus Ulrich. All parties, please step forward.
Tobias Eagle is suing his former friend, Joshua Ulrich, for cryptocurrency profits and equipment.
Mr. Eagle, you and Mr. Ulrich were friends. You were traveling together for business. What kind of business were you in other than this cryptocurrency?
First off, we weren't friends initially. We were first business partners, and we worked together underneath my mentor through his company, Symbio. Yes.
Okay, and what kind of business?
It was teaching workforce development for, I guess you could say, people who needed skills so they can be prepared for engineering jobs.
Okay, you worked at the same company?
Yes.
Okay, and when did you decide to go into this business together?
Around January to February 2021.
This has to do with cryptocurrency?
Yes.
Okay, this cryptocurrency business that you went into together, did you form a company or an LLC?
Yeah, I already had a company established. I was doing it more as a recreation, but...
So the answer is you and the defendant, when you wanted to go together into this business, did not form a separate company?
No.
So individually, it is your claim that you spent some $20,000 on equipment for this new company?
Yes.
And you were supposed to share whatever profits there were in this new company. And quite frankly, I know nothing about cryptocurrency. I am of the Charlie Munger school of cryptocurrency. I think it's all about the emperor's new clothes. And unless I can feel it, touch it, taste it, smell it, or bite on it, it doesn't exist. So I want you to know that's where I'm starting.
Yes.
Okay? So you're going to explain to me what the business was that you were doing with him that involved buying $20,000 worth of equipment, which you now say is in his possession that you want back.
Yes.
Cryptocurrency.
Okay. He mentioned that he knew how to mine cryptocurrency.
Okay.
That's how we
now
use
that
it.
I understand that those are the words that you use. Where is the mine?
May I explain cryptocurrency to you a little more too, Your Honor?
Oh, I'd love to hear you.
Okay, sorry. Mining is just a term for generating profits from cryptocurrency. There is no physical mine, as you may already be aware. It's not like mining gold.
Yes, it's not like anything. It's like the emperor's new clothes.
Yes, ma'am. But essentially, cryptocurrency...
That's why it collapsed.
Yes. Cryptocurrency mining is just...
You know that it collapsed.
Oh, yes, it collapsed.
Everybody knows that it collapsed.
Yes, ma'am.
Charlie Munger predicted that a long time ago.
Yes, ma'am. But essentially...
Do you know that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what you were involved in is a shill game of Emperor's New Clothes. which would have involved all of your investors. Who was it that created cryptocurrency? The Winklevoss?
I don't know who created cryptocurrency.
Brothers? I don't know. Not sure. In any event, somebody had a vivid imagination.
Yes, ma'am. But all crypto is we essentially use our computer resources, specifically a piece called a graphics card that is really good at solving equations. We essentially solve equations for money. That's really all mining is. And
You
so we
solve
generate revenue.
equations for money.
Yes, ma'am.
What equations?
I don't know the specific equations. Essentially, the equations are so complex that when you solve them, you're rewarded for your time and the effort that your computer put into it, and that's where the revenue or mining comes from. We essentially validate transactions the same way you might want to make sure that a transaction on your bank statement is legitimate. And so we were paid for validating these transactions.
You sound like a really bright young man.
I appreciate that, Your Honor.
You really should find something important to do.
I have changed sectors since then, Your Honor.
You have equipment that he paid for?
No, Your Honor. I would actually like to
Just
get
a
in.
second. I'm
Yes,
just
ma'am.
asking a question. I thought maybe we could resolve this. Show me what equipment you purchased, sir, the receipts for it, and tell me where it is.
And so we're not here specifically for the GPUs that he claimed.
The what?
GPUs, graphic cards.
Just a second. Don't say anything to me, sir.
Caption coming up.
You have the counterclaim for equipment.
I have it for equipment and cryptocurrency assets.
I'm not bothering with that.
Okay, no worries, Your Honor.
Yeah, no worries.
Joshua smirks. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tobias and Joshua.
Tobias Eagle claims his former friend, Joshua Ulrich, owes for cryptocurrency profits and equipment.
I contributed $20,000 in equipment, and by the first quarter of 2021, I am suing the defendant, Joshua Ehrlich, for cryptocurrency profits and return or value of equipment.
Yes.
I'm not concerned about cryptocurrency profits, because I think cryptocurrency is a whole lot of who shot John. And the only ones that probably got skunked are any investors that you put into cryptocurrency.
Well, it still has value, so.
Well, you know something? You tell that to all the people who lost billions in the last 2 weeks. Would you mind just showing me the equipment that you purchased and receipts for it? I didn't ask you for anything.
Yes, Your Honor.
Equipment that you purchased. Okie dokie.
Tobias.
And so for this equipment, it was purchased through an auctioning site. And so they only have a year delay, and then that was the only information I was able to receive from them.
That's not helpful to me, sir. That's not helpful to me at all. I can't, what am I supposed to do with this?
That's just showing that I have proof that I purchased the equipment.
Doesn't show me how much.
It wasn't how much I bought it for. It was because I plan on rebuying the equipment. And so that's just proof that I bought the equipment and that he has it.
That a workstation, a Hewlett-Packard server.
Yes. And I have a price
one
break.
small pallet of miscellaneous battery backups.
Yes. And there were specifically 12 of
And
those.
2 Dell towers.
Yes.
Everything here are things that you want back from him.
Yes.
You have nothing in your house of these things.
Of those things, no. Those are in his barn right now.
Okay. Do you have these things?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever have this in your possession?
Yes, at one point I did have it in my possession.
When?
I had it in my possession when we were at a shared facility that was in Rancho Cordova.
Now you're not in a shared facility anymore.
Yes, ma'am. Since we were in a shared facility, I have never had the equipment in my possession. Furthermore, the equipment that he's talking about has nothing to do with this case. This case is primarily around the assets.
You have no idea how simple I'm going to make this, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
He has receipts for certain equipment.
I have receipts for more equipment, and I have a very
Just a second. You have a counterclaim for equipment.
I have it for equipment and cryptocurrency assets.
I'm not bothering with that.
Okay, no worries, Your Honor.
Yeah, no worries. No assets.
No
There are no
problem, Your Honor.
cryptocurrency assets. Where is the equipment that you claim he has that belongs to you?
It's well, it was originally at his house when we moved out of the facility. I relocated all of it to his house. I have an inventory ran on the last day I was at his house, marked with the location, the equipment, and a lot of details. I would love to show it to Your Honor if that's acceptable.
Just a second. Do you have...
On that list? No.
No. Do you have any equipment at your house?
Yes.
What equipment do you have at your house?
The graphics cards that he's talking about.
So you have the graphics cards
Yes.
that belong to him?
No, they belong to me mostly. So I bought.
What do you mean that they belong to you mostly?
I bought most of the graphics cards. He put in some money for some equipment expenses. And for my estimates, which I wish I could have asked him, was around $3,000 that he put in. And I put around $15,000.
How do you expect a court to dissect this business mess that you've created?
I'm not here for the GPUs or graphics cards. That's why I completely left them out.
No, but he has a counterclaim.
And that's fine. He can present it.
I understand that.
Sorry.
How do you expect somebody to pick apart this legal morass that you have, except to say that all of the stuff should be sold?
Understood.
I don't have any value of what you claim you spent for this because there are no amounts on it.
Yeah,
well, that's a problem.
I do have documentation, Your Honor, of all of it, and it's labeled who purchased it and the amounts. In addition, the second page here has the totals that he was talking about, and the documentation pages are below.
Now, Kevin brings documents to Judy.
Great.
She reviews them.
There isn't a lot of very expensive stuff that you paid for, Mr. Ulrich.
There's not too much, no, Your
No, there isn't too much expensive stuff here, right?
Yes,
you know, we have something for $24, something for $15. You paid for the little stuff, he paid for the big stuff.
Two things, Your Honor, that I would like to mention. First of all, he did not purchase $20,000 worth of assets. This is a highly inflated number. I can actually prove this.
Just a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Just a
No
second.
problem,
I'm not awarding him any money. Each of you will take back the things that you bought. You didn't have a formed company together. It's not a company asset. It belongs to each of you. You're not in business anymore.
Yes.
So all I have to know is what do you have at your house and what do you have at yours?
He has everything, including all the physical assets. The only thing that I have at my house, Your Honor, is, or it's actually on my computer technically, stored in a digital wallet. A digital wallet is the same thing as a regular wallet. This is just how we store cryptocurrency.
I don't want to care about that.
sorry.
I don't care
No problem,
about
Your
that.
Honor.
All I'm talking about is equipment.
Oh,
so
I have no equipment at my house, Your Honor.
what equipment does he have in his house?
He has everything that's listed on that document that I gave you. And I actually do have proof that he has it because...
I'd like to see it.
So these are text messages from my roommate to his mother.
From who?
From my roommate. He was supposed to be here as a witness.
If he's not here, you can't show me texts from him.
He wasn't able to make
Well, you can't prove something to me via hearsay from a witness who's not here.
It's not hearsay, it's just text messages that he gave.
That's hearsay by a person not here. You know, I actually don't think that you're ready to have this case tried. I can't help you. You say you don't have anything in your house. You can't tell me how much the item cost. If he said he doesn't have anything in his house, should I rule that he has to give it back to you and he said, I don't have it, I can fix the dollar amount, but I can't do that unless you have what you paid for it.
I have documentation here that at the value at which I have to pay to buy it back. Because since it was through an auctioning site, I don't remember, I had several auctions I bought most of that equipment from.
You can show me a bank statement where you paid money to an auction house. I just want to see an amount that you paid to the auction house.
I don't have that on me currently.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
Your
Your
Honor,
case is dismissed without prejudice. Go back to the courts where you originally came from and see if they can help you any more than I'm willing to. Can't help you until you get your documentation together, sir. You're the plaintiff in this case. I can't award. You don't have anything if you don't have what you paid for the equipment.
But
he said he doesn't have the equipment.
And he's lying.
It may be, and the proof that you have is inadmissible here because your friend who authored those texts is not here. Your case is dismissed without prejudice. Go back to the court where you started it. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to
না ডিসকর্ডে তুমি একটা জিনিস হ্যাঁ এটা ঠিক আর শোনো ওই ম্যাপটা কিন্তু ভালো আছে এটা শোনো ডিসকর্ডে কিন্তু মনে করো কেউ সচরাচর কেউ লাইভ করে তো আমি
দেখার বিষয়ে কখন কি করতে পারে
কেউ কি আমাকে ডিসকর্ডে স্পন্সর করবা তাহলে আমি লাইভে স্পন্সর করে দিতে পারবো
কোনো সমস্যা নাই আমি নিয়ে দিব নেই
ওকে ওকে
দেখা যাক কিছু স্পন্সর দিতে পারবে না
কোনে নামো ওরে স্কোয়াড বক্সিং জিমে নামাও বক্সিং জিম
বক্সিং করব আসো বক্সিং করে একটা পড়ার শিখা দেব বক্সিং ম্যাচ বক্সিং করব আসো
বক্সিং জিমে নামবো আমরা
বক্সিং করব না আমরা আরে সব ম্যাডাম টিম আরে ম্যাডাম
ও ভাই চারপাশে কত এনিমি উঠতেছে ভাই রে ভাই
আচ্ছা আমি আড্ডা গ্রুপে